Mayor,
George.
do you want me to eat?
I'd like to call to order the work session for September the 16th. Council staff who are here and friends saw on Facebook that today is Respect the Aged Day in Japan. And given that this is our 60th anniversary of a sister city relationship with Nagano, I thought I would mention that. And what they do is that if you're 100 years old, the cities go out and give you silver sake glasses, I guess, so that they can toast you to 100 years of age. So anybody who's 100 years of age here in Clearwater, we're just sending you our best wishes and wish you many more. Our first order of business following that is to recognize our 10-year employee from Clearwater Gas, Jacqueline Lewis. Jacqueline, come forward, please. Who's this? Is that yours? Jackie, hey, congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Hi, Jack. Congratulations.
It's not mine.
Congratulations.
It's not yours? No? Okay. We have other people who are to be recognized, but I guess that's going to be on the agenda for Thursday night?
Yes.
Okay. We will recess the work session and convene our pension trustees for September the 16th. Are there any addition or corrections to the minutes of August the 12th?
Move they be approved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of August the 12th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Anybody from the public wishing to speak to an item that is not on the agenda of the pension trustees? If so, please come forward at this time. If not, I will move forward to agenda item 4.1. Ms. Poirier.
Hi, good morning. Request for a motion to approve the new hires for acceptance into the pension plan as listed.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 4.1? Welcome, Mr. Poglaze.
Dr. Cundiff had this tonight.
I almost got it.
Move
Sort of
approval.
entered with
A
a
rival,
bang.
yeah. Move approval of agenda item 4.1.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.1. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4.2.
Request to approve the following request of the employees for a regular pension as provided by sections 2.416 and 2.424 of the employees' pension plan.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 4.2? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 4.2? Motion.
Move to approve agenda item 4.2.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.2. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Poirier, do you have any other business for the pension trustees?
I do not, thank you.
Very good. We will adjourn the pension trustees meeting for September the 16th and call to order the Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. Are there any addition or corrections to the minutes of August the 12th?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of August the 12th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Anybody from the public to speak to an item that is not on the agenda of the Community Redevelopment Agency? So please come forward at this time. If not, we will close citizens to be heard and move to agenda item 4.1. Ms. Thompson.
Yes, approve an interlocal agreement between the Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency and the City of Clearwater to provide CRA funding in fiscal year 2019-2020 and the amount of $99,640 to underwrite activities in the Clearwater Main Library that support community learning in the areas of science, technology, engineering, math, entrepreneurship, and small business growth, and authorize appropriate officials to execute the same. This is an interlocal agreement between the CRA and the library to support the maker spaces here, which is, you could think of as an entry point to our entrepreneurship pipeline for creating new small businesses.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 4.1? I have a question regarding, it says here in our worksheet that the CRA funding will pay for one staff member to oversee these functions, assist with additional library hours. That implies to me that the library is going to be open additional hours and will have to incur additional costs.
So I will ask Ms. Obermeyer to come up to explain that.
That's nothing new, though.
No.
Of Meyer Library Director. We do have some programs that extend beyond our operating hours. It's not significantly more than what our operating hours are, but there are times where we have some overlap. So the extra staffing helps with covering for that.
So it's already built into your budget?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's what I was, all right, that's
Yes.
what I was worried
And
about.
one of those examples would be the first Art Tech Showcase that we did this year, when we brought the equipment out of the library into Second Century Studios. So that would be an example of one of those educational outreach programs.
Yes,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were covered.
we're
Yep,
covered.
okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Any other questions, council? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 4.1?
Move approval of agenda item 4.1.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.1. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4.2.
Approve an interlocal agreement between the Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency and the City of Clearwater Police Department to provide CRA funding in fiscal year 2019-2020 and the amount of $186,291 to underwrite the cost of additional community policing services by the Police Department in the Downtown Gateway District, Prospect Lake District, and Downtown Core District, encompassed by the CRA to address quality of life issues, drug dealing, prostitution, and homelessness, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. So this is our interlocal agreement with the police department that we've had for several years. The state statute explicitly states that community policing is an innovation and something that worthy of CRA support funds.
Any questions of staff on 4.2? Ms. Poblace?
Thank you. Does this include some extra bike patrols? Because that
Yes,
seems to,
this includes the bike team.
great, thank you.
Any other questions, council? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 4.2?
Move to approve agenda item 4.2.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.2. Comments, council? I will say that we have received some positive feedback from the community on the bike team and this program. So continue the good work, CRA and Chief. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4.3.
Yes, approve the interlocal agreement with the Downtown Development Board to provide personnel, administrative, and management services during fiscal year 2019-2020 in the amount of $73,512 and refund the CRA tax increment fee of $286,22 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. So this is an agreement that the CRA has executed for several years with the Downtown Development Board to provide their staffing. The CRA receives an increment of the Downtown Development Board's revenue, and then we return it back to the Downtown Development Board so that they can spend it on funding special events, marketing, whatever programs they desire.
Questions of staff on agenda item 4.3? I'm struggling with this one. We're getting $286,000, and we're turning around and giving that $286,000 back,
Less our administrative fee, that's
which is the $73,000.
That's correct.
But that really doesn't pay for all the services that we provide the Downtown Development Board, correct?
That is correct.
Have we analyzed how much services we actually do provide, in terms of costs?
We have not. And in relationships, which this is, right? This is a working relationship between the city and CRA and DDB. I think that it's based on several years of history of, each organization playing certain roles. So we are looking at that now when we're looking at updating the Downtown Development Board ordinance and, facilitating conversation with them about what role they would like to have in downtown. So we are taking a closer look at that. But I'm not sure that doing a deep dive on the accounting would reveal any kind of information that would greatly change the course of our relationship.
Well, I can understand the importance of a relationship, but I also feel like we have a physical responsibility. And if they're not covering their expenses that we're providing them, and they're not delivering products, but rather just going off on their own and not doing anything, then I think we need to take a closer look. And I would prefer that we hold off on this until we have a better understanding of what their role is going to be in the future.
It is confusing because the DDB has a part of the CRA that they collect taxes on.
Correct.
And instead of it going directly to the DDB, it comes to the city first. The city takes out the $73,512 for administrative costs, so that's paid for. And then they give back the DDB the balance of $286,022 for them to do whatever they're going to do to promote the downtown. I mean, that's the whole idea of the TIF that they collect, is to promote the downtown. So to look at it this way, that the DDB is actually giving the city $73,512 for administrative fees and whatever costs are. So they are paying the city. I don't know why you don't know an exact amount. I mean, it is for salaries and costs, right?
So this would represent almost the salary of one position. And again, when I was saying we had an employee who was in this position for a very long time, so obviously, that's going to be a different salary level than someone who was first hired. And there's a 3% increase every year. What I would say is it's not just about we have multiple people in the department who spend portions of their time helping to staff the DDB, portions of their time. Also, though, the Downtown Development Board, they do spend their funds on projects that are in alignment with CRA strategy. So they've given grants to support our art tech projects, right, the Dreams of Dali exhibition. So really it's a little more complicated than just looking at the staff time, because they are using their funds to support the downtown plan as well. And the money that they spend on special events, re-granting, is something that the CRA cannot do under state statute. So they play an important role in helping to provide support to these downtown special events that would not otherwise be available.
I mean, the only special event that I can think of that they've done is the Beer Fest.
They support
No,
Achieva, Superboat, Blast Fridays, Downtown Merchants, a wide variety of events, and the beer festival. Santa and Suds Run,
Yeah.
Jazz Holiday.
Any other questions of staff, council? Mr. Poglaze?
Thank you. Isn't also, excuse me, I also recall that first of all, what comes to mind is this taxation without representation. This special district here, that's additional tax that we wouldn't ordinarily have if there were no DDB. And as I recall also, for several years, they helped pay for and finance the boat docks.
We did.
So we wouldn't have that extra tax increment we need the DDB, and it's representative of business owners or people that live in this district. So they do stuff. I think there's been a lot of accomplishments. I mean, obviously, we also have more work to do in downtown. So, thank you.
I'll wait till comments.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 4.3? Motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 4.3.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.3. Comments? Mr. Cundiff?
I'm not at all opposed to looking at the relationship between the three organizations and doing as deep analysis as we need to do, but I don't think we need to hold up this motion for that.
Any other comments, council? Again, I'm not questioning, the TIF, I'm questioning the CRA's contribution and the return. I mean, I sit and look at all the things that we provide, staff time, and that mounts up. And I don't think $73,000 covers our staff time and the work that we do. And if we had one employee, that takes the majority of that $73,000, then that tells you that they're not providing their fair share. Motion has been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.3. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. No. Motion carries 4-1 with criticus in opposition. Agenda item 4.4.
Approve an agreement between the Community Redevelopment Agency and Ruth Eckerd Hall, Inc., a Florida nonprofit corporation, to produce Downtown Clearwater's Festival Series, Blast Fridays, Miracle on Cleveland Street, and a signature event, and an amount not to exceed $100,000 for fiscal year 2019-2020, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Move approval of agenda item 4.4.
First, we have to ask if there are any questions.
Sorry.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 4.4? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 4.4? Motion has been made to approve agenda item 4.4. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.4. Comments, council. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4.5.
Yes, this item is to approve the fiscal year 2019-2020 Community Redevelopment Agency preliminary budget, adopt CRA Resolution 19-01, and authorize appropriate officials to execute the same. And so, a little bit inspired by the mayor, for our viewing audience, I wanted to give a little educational background and context on our budget process in the CRA. So the Community Redevelopment Agency is a special tax district subject to State of Florida's Community Redevelopment Act. Our primary purpose is to reduce blight and other barriers to allow the private market to function. CRA expenditures and activities are guided by the 2018 Downtown Redevelopment Plan, and we're subject to different regulations than general fund or what you think of as general economic development expenditures. So a brief summary, our revenue this year increased by 3.5%. Over the amended budget. This is, we enjoyed last year a 20% increase, which was due to the Nolan coming online. We do not have that this year. So what you're looking at in this 3.5% is more of a typical year when you don't have any type of major development coming onto the tax base. Also, the county extended their TIF contribution for an additional 15 years, which we are very grateful for and appreciative of, since that represents approximately $1.5 million a year to our revenue. For expenditures, our budget is divided between operating funds and project funds. And our project funds, we have certain ones that carry over from year to year for capital improvements. We are reducing the number of project funds, so not the amount within them, but the overall number. We have about 12 or so, and we're trying to reduce that down to provide more clarity between one-time expenses and ongoing expenses. And we're also trying to align this project funds to state and county project requirements. So as of October 1st, there's new state regulations that go into effect for CRAs, and the county is introducing some new regulations as well, just to get more clarity around what CRAs are spending their tax dollars on. So again, here's the breakdown in revenues from the county. We received $1,658,145. City, $1,841,094. The DDB portion you see there. So for a total of $3,785,262. And you see the asterisks there. This 2.7 amount is available for project funds. So when you think about outside of our day-to-day operations, that's the money that we're looking at for projects, capital improvements. So all of our expenditures that we're going to go through are aligned with our 18-month strategy, right? Changing perception about downtown and city government, one that aligns with the adopted vision. Again, we have our 4 focus areas, and I did have a question from a resident earlier this morning. This is the summary slide. I know you guys hear every month about the projects underneath each of these areas. So for example, under the permitting 600 housing units, all the projects we're working on, the food and drink grants, right, the streetscaping, the Mercado, all things that make it an attractive place to live, those projects are contained under the housing units, which I'm not going to go through all of those today in the interest of time. So under operating expenses, we're looking at approximately $675,000. So under this category, that's the city interlocal agreement, so paying for the staffing, IT, legal services, et cetera, for the CRA. That's the Downtown Development Board agreement, and our advertising and consulting services. So when we receive architectural renderings, when we do surveys, when we look at marketing surveys, that all comes out of this category. You'll see a major change this year. The biggest shift from in the other contracted services is that we're taking our website program out of a project fund and moving it into operating expenses. And that has gone up because we are complying with the ADA standards just like everybody else. In terms of expenditures for project funds, you've got $2.7 million transferred into project funds, into downtown redevelopment, facade program, and then of course our interlocals with the community policing and the library. Under the, sorry, just let me get to my notes here. So an important thing to note, in the downtown redevelopment fund, that we have a couple outstanding obligations, where we have out of that, just under $1 million, $907,000 for the 3 properties that the city transferred to the CRA earlier this year will be coming out of that fund. Also the $400,000 for Apex 1100 and $250,000 towards the brewery development, 115 MLK. We also potentially, this will be coming before you next month, have $1 million to acquire Fire Station 45 for the CRA to purchase that from the city. So at the end, what we're left with is a little bit over $2 million in this fund for the upcoming year. And projects that we're, and programs we're going to be bringing back to you next month are white boxing spaces. So being able to work with owners, so not necessarily just tied to food and drink, but being able to partner with them to improve existing buildings for pop-up uses, right? Should they want those in the interim? So in order to get systems in there, ADA bathrooms, so that they could be used for anything. Because one of our primary goals, right, is reducing vacancy. And we still have funding for wayfinding that's in project funds. We still have $600,000 for the Market Festival / Mercado. We still have funding in facade improvement grants, right? That's a key program for our property owners to improve their properties. And we still have the funding available for the trail improvements. Any questions?
Any questions of staff on agenda item 4.5? Mr. Pogles.
Thank you. Apex 1100, that'll be coming online probably late towards the end of this year. Will that, I know we've seen a 20% increase when the Nolan came online. Is there an anticipated, what do we expect that to be? Do we
I don't know if it'll be as much as the Nolan. I can find out what we would expect that to be. And they have received a temporary certificate of occupancy, so residents are starting to move in. And I just want to thank our fire department and our building department for working so diligently with that project. Yeah. But yes, we should see double-digit increase. I don't know if it'll be 20%, but.
Yeah, great, thank you.
That would be for next tax year though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions of staff on agenda item 4.5? Mr. Kondo.
On information technology, you are about 1,000 under from last year's budget, and I'm wondering, 23,000. Are we protecting ourselves? You talked about a shift on the website, on how the website's managed, or something along that line. Are we protecting ourselves against ransomware?
Yes, and Dan Mayer, our IT director, can speak in more specifics about what we're doing to provide cybersecurity. But I will say the city's taking a really active approach in getting training going, right? Because we know that the number one cause of that is human error, right? People clicking on things they shouldn't be clicking on. So we're getting trained in that, and I think I'm sure you've seen our junk email filters are real strong.
Any other questions, Council? Ms. Thompson, in the description here, it says that the tax increment revenue increased 3.5 over the budget, reflecting a taxable value of approximately 3% increase, but a decrease in the taxable value of the expanded CRA. Clarify that for us, please.
Yes, so in the expanded CRA, which is the area that includes the downtown gateway, it went down about 1%. And I don't know why specifically. I haven't had a chance to put a call into the county offices to know why that might be. But it did go
Are
down.
those the residential homes sort of like south of Cleveland Street and north of Court Street then that we're talking about?
So this would be the area that is east of Missouri.
East of Missouri?
So just east of
Right.
Missouri, Drew, Court.
Yeah, and that's more of a residential.
It is predominantly residential.
So are we targeting any programs for, I mean, you know, we keep hearing about the downtown and you know, we're not really seeing that much changes in the downtown storefronts, to be honest with you, in businesses other than the 400 block. Are we targeting anything in these residential areas from the CRA standpoint?
So I'm so happy you asked that question. So residential, commercial, right? And you're familiar with the projects on Cleveland Street. All the facade grant programs apply there, the streetscape, the Mercado, right? That's our predominant focus. Looking at the former economy insight, right? If we do an urban farm or some type of housing development there, that would help. And then for residential, actually working with housing and planning department, exploring different types of missing middle housing concepts. So we have an architect right now that's looking at what would a small apartment, say a 4 or 6 unit apartment building look like, or a tiny house. So I think within those neighborhoods, we really want to start targeting rehabilitation and then different kinds of housing, right? So if it doesn't make sense to save it and you have some free land there and you want to build a little bit higher density, what could that look like? Is that something that would work for that neighborhood? So that's really the direction we're thinking about with housing. Have not considered. I haven't found a model program yet or spent a lot of time thinking about what we could do to get into the residential renovation aspect of things, right? Giving money to those property owners to renovate residential property. But that's certainly on the table. That would certainly be an allowable use of CRA funds.
Since you mentioned tiny houses, I happened to see while I was watching the football games yesterday on the internet a thing about the problem with tiny houses. Did you see or have you looked that up? Or maybe you want to. Council, one of the things that it brought up is that in a tiny house, you need smaller appliances. And consequently, they are more expensive. And so it's not necessarily a savings by moving into a tiny house, and then some other problems that you run into. So you may want to take a look at that just for.
Yeah, there's certainly not a cure-all.
Yeah.
And if you are doing anything that's not one level, you're automatically cutting out a large portion of the population, right, that can't access stairs or doesn't want to sleep in a small loft.
Right. And my last question concerns the operating expenditures. You're going up from $580,000 to $675,000. That's a rather significant increase.
Sure, and the bulk of that is really around advertising and other kinds of marketing and printing and binding. So if you remember, our number one job, right, is to change that perception. So we have several things that we're doing. We're working with Invest Tampa Bay Times digital advertising, creative loafing. We're going to do radio spots, local travel and trade publications, and social media campaigns. So we're spending about $40,000 in this upcoming year in that kind of advertising. Then we're also going to be more present at different conferences with booths, whether that be local, maybe some national, really just getting the word out about downtown Clearwater. I hear all the time, we had no idea, right? It was this lovely. We had no idea that this business or this activity was in downtown. So that's what you're seeing as a really big push there. And some of that used to be contained in project funds, right? We had a downtown marketing fund. But in my opinion, to be more transparent with the county, with the state about everything we're doing, this is really an ongoing expense. It's not a one-time project.
Has the Downtown Development Board or the Downtown Partnership joined us in trying to do this, or are we just doing this on our own?
The Downtown Development Board has supported 2 campaigns. They are shifting more in this direction. So they are doing a professional short video campaign about downtown businesses that Rosemary DeMore on my staff is leading up. And they're also partnering with the Clearwater Arts Alliance to do an organic crowdsourced video campaign. So reason being, Clearwater Arts Alliance, they'll do the call for videos. They hold all that content, right? And then we'll select 3 winners, the Downtown Development Board, and they'll award them cash prizes.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.5.
We do have an individual who.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anybody from the public wishing to speak to agenda item 4.5? Apologize.
Excuse me.
My name is Kathy Flaherty. I live in the Eastgate area, and I also have a business up there. I was very concerned because the one thing was the couple slides before, I don't know where it says the main goals for this. The East Gateway is not on that, and the East Gateway keeps getting forgotten for 20 years. I mean, there's nothing ever happens up there. You guys put up 48 banners for $15,000 2 years ago. That's the only thing we've seen, all right? Downtown has a development board. They've got all this action, nothing. We have hookers. We have prostitutes. I get stopped by Johns all the time. I've written emails. You guys do have a police force out there, then Sergio is doing a great job, all right? I think what you guys need to do is get more code enforcement up there, hold the property owners responsible for the dilapidated states, because that's where you get the people living in the places and you get them hanging out and you get the drug dealers. We got 2 crack houses closed down last year. Once those closed down there, they actually rented the unit next to my bike shop. We had my landlord had to spend $6,000 getting them out. I made numerous calls downtown to the police department that there was a crack dealer next door, nothing got done. The guy actually had a warrant out for his arrest in St. Pete for running a crack house down there. He's in jail now. They've caught him someplace. But you guys have dropped the ball, I'm sorry to say, on the East Gateway, all right? And I'd like to see that area up in front. It's lowered our property, my property values on my house. Our business is going down. The Save-A-Lot now is closing. The hardware store is closing. 1 restaurant open. We have no help up there. But we are supposed to be part of this community and part of this CRA. And the way I feel is you guys don't fix it, because if you fixed it, the CRA would disappear, because then there'd be no blighted places. And I know that sounds crazy and it's conspiracy, but that's the way I feel. I mean, I understand that you guys had problems with the underground utilities. You did a whole plan. You presented it 2 years ago. We had the news come out and interview us, okay? Saying, oh, we were like all happy, things were getting done. Then nothing happened, and it took 2 years for me to figure out that you guys didn't have the underground engineering plans done, and you had 20 years to do this. You fumbled the ball, and I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be upset, and I really want this ready, but you guys need to pay attention to the Eastgate area. People live up there. We have businesses. We have homes. There are children.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to agenda item 4.5? Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.5. Comments? Mr. Poglatis.
Thank you, Mayor. I would concur with that resident. The plan is actually, the East Gateway plan is way older than 2 years. It was back in 2012, before I was on council the first time, when there was a huge community engagement to come up with a plan. And the East Gateway is in need of our attention, and we are giving it attention. It has been delayed and priorities have shifted, but I think now with the Mercado, the streetscape, a lot of different projects taking place there. And I would also suggest to my colleagues and staff as well that affordable workforce housing is extremely important in that area. And I know we've tried to come up with some creative solutions, but we're kind of doing one-offs. Chuck Lane and Denise Sanderson do an incredible job in economic development housing. However, I think it's just money. And if you look at the template that St. Petersburg they have committed $10 million over, I believe it's 15 years. That money then is, which we do with our money, you leverage it with HUD, you leverage it with state and federal to get additional money, but without a commitment to be able to do that, and leverage takes more money to make more money, it's going to be a slow process, and it'll be one-off projects. Small apartment complex is what we were talking about. That area, I think, is vital to our tourism. It's vital to that community. It's extremely important, and I think would be the right step for possibly a future council to look at to be able to, because we're trying to tackle the East Gateway, we're doing many things. I think that would be an important next step. So, thank you.
Any other comment? Mr. Hamilton?
Two things. Number one, I don't think we have had a formal motion made yet, but on the agenda item, I don't think we have.
Okay.
And, but.
Well, let's go ahead and do that, and then we can continue with
Okay.
our comments.
All right.
Is there a motion to approve agenda item 4.5?
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Okay, I apologize for that. Okay, comment. Yeah.
Exactly, where are we on the next phase of the Cleveland streetscape? What's our, do we know a timetable?
So, where is Tara? Oh, right here. Okay, Tara's back there. Tara will come up to fill in any details that I missed, but we've our external consultants, GAI, working under the direction of Elliott Schoberg, have completed the 30% drawings. We have reviewed those in coordination with the CRA's hired the architect Clark & Clark, so that we can move along with the design of the Mercado area with the streetscape. So I believe the 60% drawings will be finished by the end of this year. And
Yes, Tara Kivett, Engineering Director. Actually, we plan to advertise for a contractor for this project by January. Anticipate construction to begin in the spring for the Cleveland streetscape portion.
Okay, give me the,
Wait, did you have something else?
No, that was.
Okay, all right. Mr. Albritton?
the Cleveland streetscape. Tell me where that starts and where it ends. Are you talking about the whole gateway?
Yes, so Missouri all the way east towards
5 points.
the 5 Points,
Yes.
where our obelisk is, and then also that other portion that angles. That's called the Cleveland portion and the State Road 60 portion. Well, no, sorry.
Well, that's called Gulf to Bay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, good. I know that things take a while, but I know that we've been talking about that area for a while as well with the CRA, and I know the frustrations of the lady that was up talking, but we do have our sights set on that and getting that moving. So we'll just have to keep our eye on it and keep things, moving along, because that's an important part of connecting the whole downtown.
And I want to add just one thing. When we had the ULI study, originally that study was to focus just on downtown. And I asked my colleagues, and they approved including the North Marina and the East Gateway, so that we could give attention to that. And we're going to do it. We're there. We don't have a magic wand that can take care of every problem right away. And Mr. Poglaze, while I appreciate your mentioning St. Petersburg and the $10 million that they're putting over 10 years, that's $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And they're 3 times the size of Clearwater.
Yeah.
And I think that our staff would probably tell you that we commit an awful lot to housing programs. But again, there's a limit. There's a limit. And we don't have that magic wand to take care of all these things that we want to have done right away. If so, we would be happy campers, and our residents would be happy campers. So, unfortunately, sometimes we need to be patient with each other, and sometimes we need to relate to just doing what, you run into problems on an engineering perspective, and that's what's happened with the streetscaping. We ran into a funding problem, and that's what happened, and it had to be delayed. But it's it's part of the project. We haven't turned it down. We haven't said we're not going to do it. So, and I know people are going to get frustrated with us over that, but we'll just have to continue plugging along as best we can. Mr. Horn.
Merrick, if I could just make a couple of comments on behalf of the administration, because I've been here almost the whole time. If you go back to 1998, 1999, when the council established the downtown and the beach as its major priorities. That's where we focused our attention. I made sure in talking to community leaders in the East Gateway that where the council priorities were. We've worked very hard not to create unrealistic expectations as to what we were going to do in the East Gateway area, because I knew that we had leaders there who wanted us to make that a higher priority than we, quite frankly, were willing to do at the time. And we've tried to move in that direction, as you pointed out, since then. So I just want to make sure everybody, understands that we've been very transparent with the leadership in the East Gateway, and knowing from the beginning we weren't going to completely meet their expectations. The second thing that I want to say is that I do disagree with some of that assessment that you heard from that citizen about what we're doing to address some of those concerns in the East Gateway. The police have been very active. We do routine prostitution stings. There are a number of things that we are doing. So, and we will continue to do that. But I think we should also recognize that this is a difficult neighborhood to deal with, and it's going to take a while for us. You have property maintenance issues there. You have quality of housing there. It's a very diverse community, and so it's going to take a lot of work. We're committed to it, and I just want to echo some of the things that you said.
Thanks.
May I address?
No, I'm sorry, your time is up, and we finished citizens.
I'll finish in an email.
Okay. Any other comments, council? Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.5. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4.6.
Yes, approve fiscal year 18-19 third quarter budget amendments and adopt CRA Resolution 19-03. So we were fortunate to receive an increase in $250,997 in excess TIF revenues, and we have allocated that to downtown redevelopment project and placemaking activities, as well as adjusting some of our operating expenses for these third quarter amendments.
Mayor?
Excuse me 1 second. I was reminded that we have a resolution that we have to approve on agenda item 4.5. Ms. Aiken.
Resolution number 19-01, a resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Clearwater, Florida, adopting the CRA FY 2019-2020 annual operating budget, providing an effective date.
Move approval of resolution 19-01.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt CRA Resolution 19-01. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Back to Ms. Thompson and agenda item 4.6.
Yes.
Had you finished?
I have.
Any questions of staff on 4.6? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 4.6? Motion?
Move to approve agenda item 4.6.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.6. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Call.
Resolution number 19-03, a resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Clearwater, Florida, adopting the CRA fiscal year 2018-2019 amendments to annual operating budget, providing an effective date.
Move to adopt resolution 19-03.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt CRA Resolution 19-03. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4.7.
Yes, approve an interlocal agreement between the City of Clearwater and the Community Redevelopment Agency to provide staffing, information technology services, telephone services for the CRA, provide the reimbursement of certain expenses by the CRA to the city, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute the same. This is our interlocal agreement so that the city agrees to provide staffing to the CRA.
Questions of staff on 4.7?
Move approval of agenda item 4.7.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 4.7. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Thompson, do you have any other business with the CRA?
Just two things. I want to say thank you for your support, and I do want to reiterate that I know it's frustrating when capital improvement projects can take a long time, but that myself and the CRA team are committed to seeing all these projects through. We're committed to continuing to find solutions to these persistent problems, right, in housing and transportation. So just know that we are empathetic to that, and we're working every day to work with other departments and move as quickly as possible.
Thank you, ma'am. We will adjourn the CRA for September the 16th and move on back and reconvene our work session for the same date, agenda item 3.1. Mr. Horn.
Thank you, Mayor. We will have an update and a review of Greenprint, the city's sustainability plan. Ms. Boyle.
Good morning. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Council. Sheridan Boyle, Sustainability Coordinator. So I'm here this morning to provide a review of the city's Greenprint plan to date, as well as a few updates for my plans for Greenprint and involvement in regional efforts. So just to remind everyone, in 2008, the city conducted its first inventory to measure its greenhouse gas emissions based on data from the previous year. This inventory included municipal, residential, commercial, and industrial sectors within the city limits. The study revealed that for the calendar year 2007, our citywide greenhouse gas emissions totaled over 1.2 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalents. Of the total emissions accounted for in the inventory, electricity consumption at 63% and transportation fuels at 31% were the largest greenhouse gas sources. Natural gas, municipal solid waste, propane, and wastewater treatment contributed only 6% of the total citywide emissions. Upon understanding the quantity and sources of its emissions, the city was able to work with a consultant to devise an emission reduction plan. That led to the creation of Greenprint, the city's sustainability plan, which was officially adopted in 2011. Greenprint identified the achievable strategies that could be implemented by residents, businesses, the industrial sector, and the city itself to make Clearwater a more thriving and sustainable community. So overall, while Greenprint contains a lot, there are two overarching goals. The first was to reduce citywide greenhouse gas emissions to 10% below our 2007 levels by 2020, which is coming up. And second, to reduce citywide greenhouse gas emissions to 25% below our 2007 levels by 2035. So those are the two aims that we had for Greenprint. So here's a graph that shows where our emissions were at in 2011 at the time Greenprint was officially adopted. The dotted line displays where our emission levels would be if we continued with business as usual, which would put us over 1.3 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalents, while the green line is where our greenhouse gas emissions will be if we meet our 2035 goal. So Greenprint, everyone knows it for sustainability. Most of these strategies, all of these strategies will have environmental and sustainability benefits, but there are also co-benefits that are equally as important to address. So many of these initiatives result in cost savings because they involve reducing energy or material consumption. Health benefits can be realized in real time through reduced air pollution from traffic congestion, as well as increased physical health through biking and eating local produce. Future health benefits may be realized through mitigating temperatures and vector-borne disease increase as well, and that's just to name a few. Improved mobility can occur through better traffic flow and reduced vehicles miles traveled. Increased community resiliency can occur through our ability to bounce back after a change, whether that's a natural disaster or that's a change in our global energy or food sources. Support of local businesses occurs through many of the Greenprint strategies because they highlight our businesses and what they're doing for the environment. Greenprint emphasizes the role of the city to also engage and educate the public, resulting in greater community awareness about sustainability. And all of these benefits, in addition to Greenprint's sustainability benefits, provide the city with a competitive edge to attract new residents, businesses, and visitors. So I wanted to provide a little summary of where we're at. I wanted to also give a kudos to our planning manager, Lauren Matsky, because many of these she collected the data on and the information on. So where are we at? Our strategies completed. So overall in Greenprint, there were 44 strategies that were established. So here are the strategies that have been completed thus far. Our recycling program expansion. The city expanded previous recycling options to include more types of plastic as well as glass. For instance, in the fiscal year that extended from 2016 to 2017, almost 14,000 tons of material was recycled as opposed to the 6,000 tons from 2009. Yard waste collection, we have continued diverting roughly 5% of our solid waste from the waste to energy facility and landfill by collecting yard waste separately and processing it separately. Water conservation, we have a very low per capita water use across the city, and we still offer low flow shower heads and toilet tank volume reducers to the public. Each of the reclaimed water projects identified in the master plan have also been completed. Natural gas expansion. The natural gas vehicle station has shown annual growth, and both the Morningside Rec Center and new Clearwater gas facility has natural gas cooling in place of electric air conditioning. Local transit improvements, and these are something that I would say is completed but is also an ongoing project. And just to name a few for this, we funded additional trolley services during spring break, supported the Green Light Pinellas Plan, and constructed the Clearwater Beach Transit Center. Low emission vehicles, our solid waste and recycling fleet of almost 70 vehicles now runs on compressed natural gas, and Clearwater Gas Systems is working on converting their fleet as well. We have been approved for 2 new electric vehicle charging stations from Duke Energy's Park and Plug program, and consideration is also being given to adding a few hybrid and electric vehicles to the city's fleet. Congestion management, multiple advanced traffic management systems have been installed around the city to improve congestion, and pedestrian signals have been installed at key intersections. So those are definitely our celebrations, and that's just a few photos that summarize what I just talked about. So what are the ones that we've started but are in progress right now? Urban agriculture, this is developing through the Clearwater Community Garden and our initial explorations with the CRA for future market garden locations. Our Green Business Guide, this is starting to take shape from the leadership of local nonprofit Ocean Allies and their ocean-friendly business certification. So the idea here is let's not reinvent the wheel. There are multiple certifications that are highlighting businesses for the actions they're doing for the environment. Maybe we can just comprise those and further publicize them. Community outreach, most recently we've collaborated with students from SPC's Sustainability Management Program to allow their capstone project to focus on city functions. And we also have a few exciting environmentally focused neighborhoods programs coming up. So our storm drain murals were just announced, our program, which is really exciting. We also have partnered with the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition and the Suncoast Sierra Club to host a sustainability conference on October 19th at the Ross Norton Rec Center, which I'm very excited for. Green space expansion, we've made a lot of progress here. So from the recent Moccasin Lake renovations, which the park is beautiful, and I encourage anyone who has yet to visit the park to go out there, to the work that Parks and Rec and engineering was able to do with the Coachman Ridge Park, and increasing the number of trees from 500 to almost 1,900. Thousands of wetland plants were also planted at the park and are doing well. Property revitalization, the city has and is actively pursuing opportunities to transform vacant and underutilized properties to affordable workforce and residential redevelopment. Our complete streets policy, so multiple trails have been created or connected to greater trails in recent years, and you all just recently approved the complete streets implementation plan to further this strategy. And finally, energy efficient streetlights. We completed the conversion of over 11,000 streetlights to LED bulbs, and all traffic signals have been updated as well. So emission monitoring is an ongoing process, and many cities now follow the ICLEI 5 milestones. The image I have here it's specific to a climate action plan, but it functions just like a sustainability plan and an emissions reduction goal. So what do? You start with an inventory, right? Where are we at? And then that leads you to establish reduction targets based on that inventory. Where do we think we can get to? Where should we get to? From those reduction targets, we develop strategies. And then from those strategies, we implement them, and then step 5, we monitor how they're doing. But it's not a one and done process, right? This is a continual process to see, 1, how are we doing, and how can we do even better? So that leads me back to milestone 1 again. Much has changed within the city since its first greenhouse gas inventory.
And in order to determine if the city is on track to meet its 2020 goal, another inventory is necessary. I've started to work with tools provided by ICLEI to understand how we might conduct a second inventory to see where we are at with our emission reduction targets. While gathering data for the second inventory, I will also work to update Greenprint and ensure that it remains a vibrant and living document. Intended updates include specifying goals using tangible metrics, strengthening commitments, and indicating the status of each existing category, as well as including a few new strategies that we may not have been aware of in 2011. So once the inventory and the Greenprint update is complete, I'll work to continue encouraging a mindset of sustainability, both internally with city staff and externally with residents, businesses, and visitors. This will be achieved through revamping the city webpage dedicated to sustainability, conducting educational publications and workshops, furthering partnerships with higher education institutions, using thought-provoking and interactive public art and neighborhood programs, and so on. Also, individual working groups of city staff and stakeholders for the remaining Greenprint strategies will be organized and will meet routinely until their strategy is complete. I also wanted to bring up a few other sustainability-related efforts that are happening locally and around the country. So the first is the Ready for 100 campaign, in which cities agree to aim for 100% of their energy to come from renewable sources by a certain year in the future. In our region, the cities of St. Petersburg, Largo, Dunedin, and most recently Safety Harbor have made this commitment. Across the country, 133 cities have also made the same commitment. I met recently with sustainability coordinators from around the county to discuss this campaign. From our discussion, we decided that a united sustainability/resiliency committee comprised of the coordinators from around the county and the county itself was needed. And through that group, we've decided to tackle energy as the group's first project. This does not include a 100% renewable energy commitment per se, but it will inform both the cities that have made that commitment and the cities that would like to see further tangible steps before making a commitment like that. As a city with a natural gas utility, this does not prevent us from possibly making a commitment in the future, but further discussion would be needed to see just what that process would look like for us. However, there are other more immediate statements we can make in the name of sustainability. One is the Climate Mayors Group, which was founded in 2014. The group is a bipartisan peer-to-peer network of over 425 American mayors working together to demonstrate leadership on sustainability through meaningful actions in their communities and to express and build political will for effective federal action. So there are no binding commitments as climate mayors, only that cities pursuing the action achieve two things: emission reduction targets through developing a greenhouse gas inventory, check, and setting reduction targets, check. So both of those things we've done already. The last is that they develop a climate action plan, which I have as a goal for my position in the coming years to begin with. So in our area, the mayors of Tampa, St. Petersburg, Gulfport, and Orlando have established themselves as climate mayors. And I would recommend that Mayor Creticus join to further strengthen our commitment to sustainability and support future actions for the city of Clearwater. Thank you.
Okay. Well, since she brought that up at the end, let me start, Council. When the manager and I were talking about this and Sheridan was hired, Ms. Boyle was hired, you know, one of the things that I had asked of our staff was this climate mayor's, you know, challenge or accord. And when she assured me that we've already met, you know, those things, I asked her to make this presentation to us so that y'all could hear it and feel comfortable that, you know, we're not committing ourselves to something that, you know, isn't feasible and something that we haven't already done. So I will be signing that as soon as she gets that document, you know, ready for us. I did want to ask you another question, though, and that pertains to the goal for 2020. Mm-hmm. On your chart, it looks like, yeah, if you can put that back. You know, you were saying that you need to do another inventory to see if we've met our target. Mm-hmm. So what does this chart tell us?
So this chart tells us if we meet our goals in 2035, this is the emission level that we'll be at.
I know, but it shows that by, you know, this is just a chart saying what it should be going down
Yes,
every
exactly.
year. It's not an inventory of what it actually has gone down.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
No measurements have been collected for that. It was if we meet that 25% reduction, we will be at this figure.
So you can't tell us today that we've met the 10% reduction by 2020?
I cannot, but hopefully I will be able to after that inventory.
And how long will it take for that inventory to get there?
So it depends. Using the tool, so ICLEI has this online tool called ClearPath. And by speaking with a representative from ICLEI, they said that for a single person, it can take, I believe the 80 hours is what they told me. But that depends on a number of feedback loops, right? So an inventory primarily depends on getting information from outside agencies and utilities. So it's going to depend on how quickly Duke will respond to, my request for information and so on.
Okay. I think it's important for us to be able to say that we've at least met our target for 2020 sooner rather than later. Mr. Albrecht.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to ask, and I figured that we hadn't done since 2011, so we're due for another one to see if we're on track. So glad that you had the foresight to hire her, and we're getting back on the Green Print program. So just wanted to make that comment during my question phase. But
Any other comments or questions, Council?
Thank you.
Pugliese.
Is there still a path, because it's kind of unusual, half of our neighborhoods signed on to get the reclaimed water, the other half did not. Is there still, and you had said that all the reclaimed projects currently that had been applied for were completed, is there still a process and path forward to get additional neighborhoods onto reclaimed water?
So we may need to ask Dave Porter more about that, but I know that they can go online and that there's a process, and if they get a certain number of residents in their neighborhoods to sign up, that it gets that process going further. But I do believe that they have to pay for it, but I don't know if I'm misspoken on that.
We'll bring Mr. Porter to come up and clarify.
Good morning, Dave Porter, Public Utilities Director. There is still a process by which neighborhoods can request that that the reclaim system be extended to them. However, we are about at that point now where we can only meet the demand of the connections we have during the driest parts of the year. So to add any more at this point of any large number probably is not that feasible. Otherwise, we'd be rationing water during the driest parts of the year, like you see other communities doing, where you say, well, the even sides of the street can go now and so forth. What we have done to utilize all of the reclaimed water that we possibly can is we have the groundwater replenishment project. Now, it's sitting for 2 years while we do a master plan on the water system, but then we intend to start that project back up again. That will then give us the same benefit as if we had gone and used that water for residential use, without the negative effect of having to ration water during the dry part of the year. Problem with reclaimed water is when you have it, people don't need it. When they need it, you don't have enough for everyone if you extend your system beyond your capacity.
I noticed that the county uses these massive retention ponds for their reclaimed water. We don't do anything like that.
We have no land to do that. And that's one of our problems with the reclaim system that we have. Unlike Pasco County and some of the others that have 1 billion gallons of storage, we don't. So, the way to do that, to have more customers, is if you can have a retention facility so that when the dry period is here, you can use water that you stored during the wet season, then you can have more customers. For us, we just have small 5 million gallon storage tanks. That just gets us through a period of a day. So unfortunately for us, being where we are and the land availability that we have, our system is limited by how many residential customers we can actually serve, if we want to serve them with no interruptions.
Right. Good, thank you. And a final question. How much, and it's important to note a couple things. Yes, natural gas is a fossil fuel, but it is a cheaper alternative that a lot of people on fixed income really appreciate and can need. And so that people understand natural gas is, can you tell me the difference between natural gas emissions, for instance, and regular carbon emissions coming out of automobiles from the gas you get at the pump. It is a major difference, is it not?
So I can't provide the actual metric, and I'm sorry for that, but it is significant. So upon combustion, natural gas compared to traditional gasoline is significantly lower in its carbon dioxide emissions. Now, the only issue with natural gas that a lot of people are figuring out is when it's actually fracked and the chemicals and the methane emissions that can be generated at source there. But on the social component, absolutely. There is a social justice component to be considered.
Right. And I think natural gas is at least currently, a much better alternative and a cheaper alternative, like you say, in a social climate for people as we move towards the future. I think that is the correct option that we're pursuing. So.
And I wanted to also note on just the reclaimed water and the predicament that it sounds like we're in for that. There's also a strategy in Green Print. It's called water-wise landscaping. And essentially we can encourage residents that have within their means to landscape in a way that conserves water but also holds water for the dry season. Right? So Florida, we don't have 4 seasons. We have 2. We have the wet and the dry. And in the wet, we get the double amount of the rain that we would in the dry. So if we can educate residents and provide those workshops, those resources, maybe we can encourage, rain barrels and landscaping that actually holds that water so that they don't need the reclaimed water when the dry season starts.
Any other comments, Council? Ms. Boyle, give us the date again about this conference that's going to be in October and the purpose, because I think this is important for it, because a lot of people, Council, I guess you don't remember, when we first approved Green Print, there were a lot of people saying, you're going to change my lifestyle, and I'm not going to be able to live anymore, the way I'm used to, and it's not at all. It's just taking these little steps that make things a whole lot easier for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, and it's voluntary. So especially for our residents and our businesses, like we're not forcing people, we're inviting them to the conversation and saying, here are some tips. And even if I can't win you over on the environmental perspective, I probably can win you over on the savings perspective. And a lot of the tips that we're having for our residents and businesses generate just that. So the Sustainability Conference is on October 19th at the Ross Norton Rec Center. It's on a Saturday from 9 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. I've partnered with the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition and the Suncoast Sierra Club, and it's a really interactive, dynamic plan that we have. We'll have 3 speakers. Well, and I'll back up. The goal of the conference is for people who attend to leave with immediate actions that they can take in their own homes, in their own neighborhoods, and in their own businesses. Like, what could I do this day to have some kind of positive impact? So the first speaker will talk about energy efficiency and saving energy in the home. The second speaker will talk about Florida-friendly landscaping and how we can reduce the fertilizer and kind of the cost around our traditional lawns, and how we can encourage ecosystems, encourage pollinators, and also save money while doing that. And the third, I believe we've titled it Waste Not, Want Not. So it's going to talk about reducing what you use, recycling properly, composting, ocean-friendly businesses. And in between each of those speakers, we'll have raffles where the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition and the Suncoast Sierra Club have gotten creative and have received items to raffle out. And then it ends with a breakout session where we are posing, a problem, and we'll have the individual groups try their hand with what they've learned at figuring out and suggesting a solution.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, that date is
October 19th.
The 19th, the Saturday morning, starting at 9 o'clock.
Yes, correct. Ross Norton Rec Center.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, Mr. Horn, for getting us on this track with your staff and all of us on realizing the importance of our sustainability.
Well, thank you for your support. We couldn't do this if you all weren't behind it.
Agenda item 3.2.
Approve an interlocal agreement between the City of Clearwater and the Community Redevelopment Agency to provide staffing, information technology services, and telephone services for the CRA, provide for the reimbursement of certain expenses by the CRA to the city, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Dell.
Mayor, this is an accompanying item to the CRA item 4.7.
Any questions, council? Consent? Yes. Agenda item 4.1.
amend the city's fiscal year 2018-2019 operating and capital improvement budgets at third quarter, and pass the appropriate ordinances on first reading. Ms. Castle.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Kayleen Castle, Budget Manager. This is the third and final review of the fiscal year 2018-19 budget. This report reflects 9 months of activity from October through June and also includes any council action to date. In the general fund, revenues and expenditures reflect a net increase of $952,766. General fund amendments include an increase of $56,820 in the city manager's office for salaries of the new positions that were transferred in the current year, an increase of $62,000 to CRA administration for increased salary costs, which are offset by increased transfer in revenues from the CRA, an increase of $30,000 in planning for building construction inspection services, which are offset by increased building permit revenues, a net increase of $155,415 to police and fire supplemental pension to bring the budget in line with both revenues and expenditures for the year, an increase of $2,246 in the police department for the third quarter safety award, which is offset by revenues from the central insurance fund, an increase of $296,285 in transfers to the CRA to recognize increased TIF revenues, and an increase in transfers to the capital fund of $100,000 for sustainability initiatives, $100,000 for Belmont Park revitalization, and $150,000 for environmental assessment and cleanup. And at third quarter, various general fund revenues are amended to bring the budget in line with receipts anticipated for the year. Adjusted for expenditure increases noted above, this results in a net surplus of $3,064,035 to general fund revenues at third quarter. This surplus offsets the use of general fund reserves allocated earlier this year, returning an estimated $1.7 million to fund reserves. Adjusted for all items listed in this report, at third quarter, general fund reserves are approximately $28.8 million, or 19% of the fiscal year 2019-20 preliminary general fund budget. This exceeds our minimum reserve requirement by $15.9 million. Expenditure amendments in the gas fund reflect a net decrease of $262,953. Significant amendments include decreases totaling $297,870 to various operating expenses primarily related to fuel and inventory purchased for resale. A decrease of $29,533 to interfund transfers, and increases of $50,000 for interest expense and $13,000 for overtime. Amendments to the marine fund expenditures reflect an increase of $23,810 to taxes, which are offset by revenue amendments recognizing reimbursements from marina tenants. Third quarter amendments to the air park fund reflect a transfer of $15,000 to fund the city's portion of the FDOT security grant project. And budget amendments to the parking fund expenditures reflect an increase of $71,990 to fund increased personnel costs and vehicle purchases due to personnel changes. Budgeted operating revenues in the parking fund more than cover this expenditure increase. In the capital improvement fund, a net increase of $918,967 is reflected at third quarter. Capital amendments previously approved by the council include an increase of $200,000 in lease purchase proceed revenues in the network infrastructure and server R&R project, and $60,000 in grant revenue from FDOT and $15,000 in air park fund revenues for the Clearwater Air Park FDOT security grant project. And there's an item on today's agenda that we'll be watching, for your approval, and this will reflect an increase in the Moccasin Lake Master Plan project by $53,815 in general fund revenue. Other significant amendments to capital projects include an increase of $300,000 of general fund revenue and $100,000 of special program fund revenue in the Police Information Systems project, $150,000 of general fund revenues in the Environmental Assessment and Cleanup project, $130,000 of general fund revenues in the Belmont Park revitalization project, and $100,000 of general fund revenues in the Sustainability Initiatives project, and a budget decrease of $56,000 in other governmental revenues in the Facilities Upgrade and Improvements project. And finally, in the Special Program Fund, an increase of $590,190 is reflected at third quarter. Significant amendments include the recognition of $49,915 in governmental revenues supporting police programs for federal forfeiture sharing and school resource officers, $20,523 in donation revenues to support police programs, $4,600 in receipts from foreclosure registry fees collected, $159,539 in revenues received for special events over the last 3 months, $129,403 in fines and court proceeds for public safety programs and the tree replacement program, and $226,210 in contractual services revenue for police extra duty. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 4.1? Ms. Kessel, the reserve amount, 28.8, does that include the money for the Crest Lake project, or have we moved that money into Parks and Rec?
We've already transferred it to the capital
Okay,
project.
so we actually have $28 million in our reserve account, which is a pretty good position to be in. Okay, great,
That's
thank you.
total including the required.
The required, right, yeah. So I just wanted to,
Yeah, that was my biggest, almost my biggest takeaway. I give, kudos and appreciate all the hard work staff does and where we are because, spending the people's money. It wasn't too long ago, we were getting real close on our reserve fund. There was very, very little money left in it. And now we're at $16 million above the minimum required in our reserve fund. So we're, we've done a very good job. And when I say we, I mean everybody in this room more so than us necessarily. But, this is one of the reasons why Clearwater is as solid as we are.
thanks for making that point, Mr. Hamilton. That was one of the things that, the purpose of that conversation is, not only what staff and the council has done, but also our residents, because, when we increased the millage rate, it was to help us, make sure that our reserves stayed and we would be in good shape in case we had a recession, in the next couple of years. So thanks to everybody for the support on that. This will be on our agenda for Thursday night. Agenda item 4.2 is a second reading, so is 4.3 and 4.4. Any questions on those, 4.2, 3, or 4? If not, they will be on our agenda for Thursday night. Agenda item 5.1.
Approve the amendment to the collective bargaining agreement, as negotiated between the City of Clearwater and Communication Workers of America, Local 3179 for fiscal year 2019-2020, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Ms. Poirier.
Hi, good morning. Jennifer Poirier, Human Resources Director. So our current agreement with the Communication Workers of America expires on September 30th of 2020. However, during a presentation that was made to the council and approved by the council in May of 2019 was to allow for PSPC to approve the recommendation to update our job classifications, our job descriptions, our pay range tables, and as well as do a one-time compression pay adjustment and change our pay schedules to be a 40-hour work week for all classifications. So the city has been in negotiations with the CWA for the last few months, and we are happy to report that they have ratified that amendment with a strong voter turnout and a 95% approval rating on that ratification. So we are extremely excited for that support and that amount of participation by our employees. So the item before you is to approve that amendment that will apply the PSPC recommendations to our pay plan.
Any questions of staff on 5.1? Let's go ahead and put it on consent, but would you do us a favor and ask the CWA if one of its representatives wants to come to the meeting Thursday night? We'll be happy to take it off consent in case they want to, make a comment or give us an opportunity to thank them for working with us.
Absolutely.
Okay?
All right.
Is that okay, council?
Yes.
All right. 6.1.
Approve a 5-year revocable license agreement from September 1, 2019 through August 31, 2024 between the City of Clearwater and Sunsets at Pier 60 Society, Inc. to provide a nightly festival at Pier 60 Park to promote tourism to Clearwater and Clearwater Beach and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Cook.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Chris Cook, Parks and Recreation, Manager of Events and Athletics. For the past 24 years, the Sunsets at Pier 60 Nightly Festival has been entertaining our beachgoers with live entertainment. They've partnered with us on many things, including the launch of the Sugar Sand Festival years ago. Even this last weekend, they worked with the city on doing a pep rally for USF, which helped promote USF football. So they're a good partner that works with us on many things throughout the year. This agreement will continue the success that's been established. Historically, the parking fund has provided a grant for $22,900 for this activity. In this agreement, staff is recommending a reduction to $18,000 with an additional reduction $6,000 per year until 2022-23, when our commitment level would be zero. We've worked with them through the success they've had. We're going to be able to lower our commitment to that. With that, I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions of staff on 6.1? Council, I'm not sure if y'all seen the email from some people who were concerned about the safety and access for emergency personnel in case there was a medical emergency. And, just to reassure all of us, they meet all the codes and there are no issues in terms of access getting out to the pier if necessary.
Yeah, correct. I know that the fire department and the police department are regularly working with them to make sure that they can react to anything that would happen. One other note for council to be aware is we do get a lot of calls from people who want to set up vendor booths and do a lot of things on the beach. And so Sunsets provides a very necessary service for us to be able to send them over to that organization if it makes sense for that festival.
So now I don't have to ask my second question. Consent, council?
Yes.
6.2.
Ratify and confirm additional expenditures of $176,146 at Moccasin Lake Park. Approve a proposal by construction manager at risk Keystone Excavators, Inc. of Oldsmar, Florida, in the amount of $48,037 for parking lot improvements at Moccasin Lake Park. Approve an increase in the Moccasin Lake Park Master Plan renovations project of $224,183. Approve necessary budget transfers to provide additional project funding and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Dunbar.
Kevin Dunbar, Director of Parks and Recreation. Good morning. Trying to do a couple of things here with this item. First thing is we're just cleaning up some of the funding for some projects that have already been completed and funded out of the city's either R&R CIP budgets or capital budgets, and just moving everything into this project, which is where the ratify and confirm comes from. The second issue is that we've been extremely successful at Moccasin Lake Nature Park since we've reopened, and the grass parking that we've installed because of consistent heavy utilization, especially during the raining season, is failing, which of course means it's mud and things like that. So the other part of this item would be to approve the contract with Keystone to allow us to go in and pave 20 parking spaces in the facility. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of staff? Mr. Hamilton?
Is it, blacktop pavement, or it would, the concrete, for lack of a better term, concrete mesh that allows certain, dirt and for drainage and everything, would that work in this parking area, or?
Probably, because it's staying wet. We've had limited success with that project or product at other facilities, because as you know, on park property, we are able to do grass parking with paved drive aisles, but it's so shady and there's so much vehicular utilization because of all the different groups that are utilizing it that we feel this is the best, cleanest approach.
Any other questions of staff on 6.2?
I had one, but you just answered.
Okay.
The other question, is there a reason this can't go on consent? There's not a resolution?
I don't like putting ratifying confirms on consent.
Okay, it is ratifying.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Albright? Okay, the 176-146, is that does that include the 46 or the 48,000?
That's
Or is
that-
that just,
That's what we've done so far.
that's what you've done so far? So the 224,183, is that the combination of 176,
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, very good. That's my question.
Mr. Albrecht's calculator wasn't working.
Yeah, I started doing it on the paper, and I'm like, better ask the question. I'm running out of time. Thanks.
Okay. That'll be on our agenda Thursday night. Agenda item 6.3.
Accept membership into the World Health Organization's and AARP's network of age-friendly cities and communities initiative. Ms. Morsley.
Good morning. My name is Carrie Kimball Marcellek, and I'm the city's Office on Aging manager. It's a real pleasure to be with you all this morning, and I'm delighted to talk with you a little bit about my work through the Office on Aging, as well as the age-friendly designation through the World Health Organization. So we'll get started. We know very much that the age wave is here in Clearwater, with more than 28% of our population are age 60 and older, and with that number is only growing. So what have been our past strategic efforts in this area? In 2002, we issued a resolution to become elder-friendly. We established a diverse interdisciplinary committee and completed the report card for well and frail elders. In 2006, we created the Clearwater Office on Aging, which is in the Parks and Recreation Department. We have conducted 2 comprehensive needs assessments, one in 2006 and one was just completed this year, which was actually a 2-county needs assessment, which has never been done before. It's very exciting. And then finally, we developed and implemented the Aging Well Master Plan. We have also established a multi-service senior center in Clearwater, which is at the Long Center. We've also replicated that Aging Well model at several city sites. We have cultivated strategic partners with really key partners in this area. The first is Tivity Health, also Baycare, USF School of Aging Studies, which I'm a graduate of, proud graduate of, the Area Agency on Aging of Pasco Pinellas, as well as Senior Citizen Services. We know that older adults, one of their top concerns is to stay as healthy as possible for as long as possible, as well as staying in the community that they love. So we've cultivated a network of evidence-based wellness programs at multiple city sites, and we have a strident commitment to these programs. These programs focus on fall prevention, chronic disease self-management, as well as caregiver issues. So that brings me to the age-friendly designation. The age-friendly designation, the background on this is an initiative through the World Health Organization. It represents a global network of age-friendly cities and communities and was established in 2006. AARP is the United States affiliate of the international effort, and they really provide extensive resources to this project. The Age-Friendly Initiative really focuses on 8 domains of livability, which includes outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation, housing, social participation, respect and social inclusion, work and civic engagement, communication and information, as well as community and health services. And all of these components work together to create a vibrant, age-friendly community. And they benefit people of all ages, which is a very important part of this process. This process is a 5-year process, a 5-year commitment. Years 1 and 2 involve planning, which we will involve older people in this, certainly. Conduct an assessment, which, as I mentioned, we just completed, so we're ahead of the game, which is great. Develop an action plan, and then identify key indicators. Years 3 to 5, we will implement this plan. We'll monitor these key indicators, evaluate progress, measure progress, identify successes, remaining gaps, and submit a progress report. This progress report will certainly be shared with the community. It will be developed really on behalf of the community, and it will be submitted to AARP and the World Health Organization. So why join the Age-Friendly Network? Certainly Clearwater has demonstrated its commitment to cultivating a lifelong community for our residents, And this age-friendly process really furthers this commitment. The World Health Global Network of Age-Friendly Communities is growing. It's really remarkable. And through this network, it really fosters the exchange of knowledge as well as mutual learning between cities and communities on a worldwide basis, which is exciting. And the age-friendly process, one of the key parts is how we will engage the community. We're going to utilize proven and diverse methods to engage older adults in the process, which includes the comprehensive older adult assessment, focus groups, community forums, expert interviews, as well as exploring new methods, which is the whole point of joining this type of network. Our contributions to both the network as well as to the community, we hope to truly contribute through the strategic expansion and adoption of these age-friendly practices in these 8 domains of livability to get towards our desired result, which is to ensure that Clearwater is more inclusive, accessible, and thriving for people of all ages. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Albritton.
Is 28% like high compared to nationally?
It is high. It is high and it's growing. So 28% is high. And you see that the 28% of our population also represents baby boomers. And so we predicted this, 10 years ago. We saw the trend, which was really why the Clearwater Office on Aging was created within the city government 13 years ago. So it is high, and that's why we've been working towards these issues, working on these issues for a long time. And now it's time to continue to focus and really see how do we move everything forward in all 8 domains. Good question, thank you.
Any other questions, Council? I should have saved my Respect the Elder Day comments for you, Ms. Marsalek. Is there some way where we can track how many people who are centenarians who are over 100 and older in Clearwater?
There is a national research group that tracks them nationally, and I know I was fortunate. I've known several of our centenarians in Clearwater, but we can definitely make better efforts to make that public if they want to be public.
Right. Yeah.
For those. Many centenarians are just living their lives and just having a great time, in all honesty. And then others really love to have a more public persona.
Well, let me suggest this for next
So we'll
year.
do that.
Apparently in Japan, it's the 3rd Monday of September that is the Respect the Elder Day, and where they honor the people who are over 100. So maybe, in the future, we can look to doing that here in Clearwater.
That would be great.
Okay. Consent on agenda item 6.3? 6.4.
Approve a 1-year agreement with Juvenile Welfare Board and the City of Clearwater for funding youth programs. Approve a first quarter 2019-2020 budget amendment of $453,032 in special program 8181-99872 Coordinated Child Care Ross Norton, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Ms. Clayton.
Good morning, Sandy Clayton, Recreation Division Manager with the Parks and Recreation Department. In front of you is our annual agreement with the Juvenile Welfare Board to provide summer and after-school program services at our Ross Norton and North Greenwood Recreation Centers. The Charting the Course for Youth program is developed to ensure we incorporate exercise, academics, and nutrition-based programs with the goals of achieving school success, increasing social and leadership skills, as well as encouraging healthy lifestyle choices. Excuse me. The grant also funds a program with Bel Air Elementary School, providing swim lessons for all of their students in a partnership between the school, the city, and the Juvenile Welfare Board. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have.
Any questions on agenda item 6.4? Consent? Thanks, Ms. Clayton. Agenda item 7.1.
Approve a contract with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, Laurel, Florida, in the amount of $531,419 plus contingency of $30,961 for forensic crime scene processing, latent prints, property and evidence storage, and Pinellas Juvenile Assessment Center services during the 1-year contract period commencing on October 1, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Chief Slaughter.
Morning, Mayor and Council. Chief Daniel Slaughter with the Police Department. As the City Manager has stated, the services have been purchased by the City of Clearwater with the Pinellas County Sheriff since 1994. This is an annual renewal agreement for our next fiscal year. The total cost of this agreement is proposed as $531,419. This includes forensic crime scene processing for 1,100 cases at a rate of $238.93, latent fingerprint examinations for 1,200 cases at a rate of $87.53, property and evidence storage for up to 10,000 items at $12.33 each, and the screening of 475 juveniles at a rate of $84 each. Additionally, this will provide a contingency fund in the amount of $30,961 in the event the department were to use any of these in excess services, and it would be just a prorated purchase from there. And the contractual agreement reflects an increase of 2.8% over the previous year contract. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of the chief on agenda item 7.1? Mr. Hamilton.
Chief, for the unit cost, 1,200 cases at $87 each. Are the unit costs in line with what they were last year, or are they going up?
Last year for latent fingerprints, it was $85.27, so it reflects an increase of 2.3% for that particular service. The forensic processing went up by 2.9%. The property and evidence storage is up 3%, but the juvenile screening rate stayed the same.
Any other questions, council? Consent?
Yep.
7.2.
Approve an agreement with Exxon Incorporated of Scottsdale, Arizona, in the amount of $917,068 for Taser 7 equipment, licensing, maintenance, and training in accordance with City Code of Ordinances, Section 2.5641D, other government entities bids, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Chief Slaughter again.
Good morning again. The police department first equipped our officers with tasers back in 2003, and the most recent update of the device was in 2015 when we went to the X26 model. The devices have about a 4-year cycle. The X26 models are coming to the end of their useful life, and the department is seeking to replace them. We seek to purchase the Taser 7, which is a more accurate and establishes a more consistent and effective connections with a target. The Taser 7 device has 2 cartridges in it that are ready to deploy, a distinct improvement from the prior device, which only had 1 cartridge, and if you were unsuccessful with 1 cartridge, you had to manually change the cartridge and add the second one before you could redeploy. It also has a feature called adaptive cross connect, so if you hit a target it has 2 barbs. If one barb hits the target, the other one misses, and then you fire your second barb, and just as long as one connects, it'll work in conjunction and end up effective the target. This contract includes 255 Taser 7 devices, plus holsters, batteries, instructor training, end-user training, online training, and virtual reality training. It also will include 8 training cartridges a year and unlimited duty cartridges. By state standards, we're required to actually fire training cartridges every year, so that had been a previous expense that we had covered by purchasing the training cartridges. The Taser has become an effective de-escalation tool. Absent officers having this tool, they would have had to revert to other devices, which would have been a collapsible baton or pepper spray or even some other type of force that could potentially cause more injury to the officer or to the subject that the person's trying to get under control. We deploy the Taser about 50 times a year. Historically, the device on national statistics, and ours are in line with national statistics, is effective about 65% of the time. We attribute that to that missed barb that we have just talked about a few minutes ago, and we believe this adaptive cross-connect feature will increase that effectiveness and reliability of the device. This pricing was included in this agreement, was previously competitively solicited and obtained through the National Purchasing Partners, a national resource for public entities and similar public solicitations, and the city is a participating membership for those partnerships. The cost for this fiscal year is $179,265 plus a contingency of $20,000 and $734 for 255 devices. And the 4 subsequent years of service and support will be estimated to be $179,265 for year 2, and then $179,268 for years 3, 4, and 5. Why they had to add $3, I don't know. But more than happy to answer any questions.
Questions for staff on agenda item 7.2. Mr. Bogley.
Thank you. Chief, in the past, I've noticed we've purchased stuff, different departments on the sheriff's contract. When you buy in bulk, you get that much more of a discount. Is this something that would not apply? This is an individual by need basis that?
Well, this type of thing actually is, you look at all those available contracts and pick the one that's most advantageous for the city. I believe this one through the national, I think the contract from the national purchasing partners was actually an Orange County Sheriff's Department contract, wasn't it, or do you know?
Sure, it's a national contract.
Or a national one. But,
Oh, so you're getting the best price.
we're looking for the best deal. There is a transition for the purpose of disclosure with Taser. In the past, you bought these devices and then you replaced them 4 years down the road. They have this new model, very similar to like our computers at the city now, where it's kind of a lease program and they're going to be a reoccurring cost every year.
What do we do with the old ones?
We trade them in. There is a trade-in credit that we get with these devices of $36,347 for the X26 devices that we still have and any remaining inventory of cartridges that we have that are not usable in the new ones.
Okay, thank you.
Consent?
Yes.
7.3.
Approve an interlocal agreement between the Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency and the City of Clearwater to provide CRA funding fiscal year 2019-2020 in the amount of $186,291 to underwrite the cost of additional policing services by the Clearwater Police Department in downtown Gateway District, Town Lake District, and downtown Core District encompassed by the CRA Community Redevelopment Area to address quality of life issues, drug dealing, prostitution, and homelessness, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. This is the companion item.
It's a companion item from the CRA agreement. I did want to provide you, though, some information, if you don't mind, just based on Mrs.
Oh, can I ask my question first, Chief?
Yes, sir. You can do whatever you
Has anybody come up with a way to stop prostitution, drug dealings, and homelessness?
So, as you can imagine, those issues are very frustrating for our officers. Sergeant Fidelis is back there, and I think everybody who's very familiar with Sergeant Fidelis knows how hard he works. I think your question's right on point with what I wanted to spend some time, at least just to let you know what value you get from this contract. So the officers that are assigned to this detail, the 2 CRA officers that are assigned to the downtown bicycle team, they've conducted 9 undercover operations targeting illegal drug dealing. There were 121 drug-related investigations, of which 42% of those were from the CRA officers. 74 drug-related field interview reports were taken, and 55% of those were from your 2 CRA officers. The CRA officers coordinated 8 undercover prostitution details that included 32 arrests. And in conjunction with the bike team, they participated in the homeless initiative and provided referrals to Safe Harbor 33 times, made 59 ordinances arrests, and 64 notice to appears for citations and 156 criminal arrests. They also completed 164 trespass warnings and made 36 trespassing arrests, and they worked with code enforcement a total of 84 times. So the officers have done a lot of work, and I think we got to recognize the environment that we're working in. A lot of the legislation has been a little more pro-drug culture, for lack of a better word. You won't find a prostitute or a drug dealer that we haven't arrested before. So we've done what we can do within the constraints of the law. There's been kind of a infatuation with marijuana in this last couple of years. There's been the introduction of synthetic drugs. Opioid addiction, or the opioid issue, is not foreign to Clearwater. We're dealing with it, and we're seeing those issues. So the value, even if maybe the metric may show drugs increasing, doesn't mean we're not doing anything. It means we're combating that as best we can. We're trying to be as agile as we can with the CRA team. And I do believe they're making a good difference. The other fact I'd like to make sure the council's aware is that they've utilized the nuisance abatement process on 5 particular properties in the CRA area. They've been very successful using that process and not having to get to the point where they get to the punitive portion of the board. We've been able to deal with it on the front side because there's a process you have to get to before you get to the punitive board process, and they've been very effective on 5 times. It is a cycle. These are rental properties, and if you have a rental property owner who's not screening his residents, it becomes very problematic for us. We've also done numerous search warrants. I didn't bring the number of search warrants we had, but we had shared it, I think, with Dr. Cundiff because he had some questions about some particular properties. But we've probably done in the nature of 4 or 5 search warrants, and I think we just did one 2 weeks ago. So I think hopefully that answers your question, that we are working as hard as we can.
No. No, it was a yes or no. You sound like an elected official. Has anyone to the best of your knowledge, has anyone solved the problem so that there's no prostitution, no drug dealing, no homelessness anywhere in a community?
Not within the constraints of a democratic society.
Still sounds like an elected official.
No, sir, they have not.
No, sir, thank you very much. Say that, yeah. I mean, if there was a way, we would be doing it, right? Like everybody else.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Albritton?
No, I was just making a comment that how he responded.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be.
No. So, come up here so that we can thank you publicly for the work that you and your efforts in the East Gateway. Thank you very much. You know, it is appreciated even by those who criticize. You know that.
So
Okay,
Chief
thank
Slaughter has definitely provided me a lot of resources to do that. We're definitely going to do better, but we're working very hard in that area. There's a lot of pride in that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, one comment.
Yeah.
So just not including the drug arrest, prostitution, or anything else, I noted that in ordinance violations involving homelessness, 156 arrests for the year. So that's, if I did my math right, that's like so to say that we're not addressing issues in all arenas, I mean, that's one arrest, in my math, is that like one arrest every 2.5, 3 days? Something like that?
I'd probably be surprised if they didn't process a criminal charge once a day at the very minimum.
Yeah.
And that's just for those kind of, those particular type of ordinances. The trespassing arrests, they fit within the same context, I think, of what you're talking about. And then the drugs are an issue too. We've been combating some drug issues even downtown at Station Square recently. And so it's got their full attention, and they're very active.
It's not that we're not doing anything, it's just that it is an ongoing, continuous problem, and the citizens just need to look out your window and see what's going on, because we are making every effort to try to.
There's just not a lot of stomach to do any serious incarceration for people with drug issues.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's going to get worse. I hate to tell you. I'm fearful it's going to get worse as this infatuation with marijuana continues. You know, you may see it legalized, and everybody will think that sounds great for the person who wants to maybe smoke once on a Friday night. But instead, you're going to have some teenagers who live next door to a mom with 3 kids, and she's going to smell marijuana all day long, and she's going to be upset about it, and she's going to yell at us.
So in your assessment and arrest records, I didn't look at the data, is there more of a problem in the downtown, and this is everything, drugs, prostitution, is there more of a problem in the downtown core, say west of Missouri, or east of Missouri towards the Gateway?
I would say that east of the Gateway is probably more of a drug issue, and your homelessness issues are probably more significant west of Missouri. You do have some drug issues west of Missouri too, but we have, and Ms. Flaherty's, I don't want to marginalize what she said, because I'm sure it's frustrating for her to have to see it.
Yeah.
And we've seen some ebb and flow of some issues along the Waverly Way and the 1200 of Franklin, right off of Missouri, and 1400 block of Franklin and Pierce have been frustrating for us. So those have been little strongholds, but if you think years ago, we were having like the short term, or the hotels, the Budget Inn, and those were chronic issues. There's still issues, but they're not the same level of issues that we were receiving complaints about repetitively before.
Since I have the floor, I want to ask you this question. At 5 Points intersection, there is a hotel there that has been problematic. Are we compiling enough data to be able to go in and maybe effectively take an action plan against them? Because I know you can get a nuisance property, historical context, and is that still the problem that it was in years past?
I would probably articulate it's more of a magnet than it is the problem. So whenever you have that low cost hotel, motel, day rate type thing, it's going to attract a particular issue of clientele. The issue, we haven't had some of the ones that you're talking about pop up through the nuisance abatement process, because a lot of the activity that is connected has been off-site, and it has to be on-site for us to take action.
I wish a developer would come in and just make him an offer he couldn't refuse, because that has been an eyesore and a blight target for a long, long time.
And at one point, I was talking to the people of Idatics to buy that property and do a connecting bridge, you know,
That
with
would be
their
nice.
building.
But you weren't successful.
I wasn't successful, no. This will be on our agenda for Thursday night. Agenda item 7.4.
Approve renewal of the TriTech
Yeah, no.
software support agreement in the amount of $187,976 for a 12-month period beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30th, 2020, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Chief Slaughter again.
This is our renewal agreement for our maintenance contract for our computer-aided dispatch system, TriTech. In 2007, the department purchased this TriTech system, and it provides us, as stated, the computer-aided dispatch, the mobile terminals for the officers in their vehicle. It also provides us our automatic vehicle location system, and it interfaces with several of our other software products, specifically our records management system and our crime analytics software. This is an item that the department has budgeted for with an expense of $187,976. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on 7.4? Mr. Hamilton?
Actually, not a question about this, but the previous item, is there a reason it can't go on consent? It's not a ratify and confirm or?
No, it may go on consent.
Okay. Do you want to put 7.3 on consent then?
Yeah.
It wasn't listed as consent,
Yeah,
that's why I
right,
skipped over it.
as I was reading through
Yeah,
it, I'm like,
yeah.
why is,
Okay, so 7.3 will go on consent, 7.4 on consent also? Thanks, Mr. Hamilton. Agenda item 8.1, thanks, Chief.
Accept a 10-foot by 25-foot water main easement from the property owners for the construction, installation, and maintenance of water main facilities on real property located at 626 North Highland Avenue, and adopt resolution 19-26. Mr. Burzak.
Good morning, Robert Burzak, Real Estate Coordinator. Public Utilities requires a water main easement to be located on the property for the construction, installation, and maintenance of facilities within the easement area. City staff recommends acceptance of the easement. Questions?
Any questions on 8.1?
No.
It will be on our agenda Thursday night. 8.2.
Accept a drainage easement from Woodland Villas Condominium 1 Association, Inc. for the construction, installation, and maintenance of drainage facilities on real property located at 2465 Northside Drive, and adopt resolution 19-17. Mr. Burzak again.
The draining easement grants the city rights to operate and maintain stormwater facilities within the easement area. City staff recommends acceptance of the easement. Questions?
Any questions on 8.2? The meeting at Thursday is the 19th, and we'll start at 6 o'clock, and it'll be on our agenda then. 8.3.
Approve the request from the property owner to vacate the utility easement lying within the south 5 feet of lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, Block D, and the north 5 feet of lots 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, Block D, Hibiscus Gardens, according to the map or plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 14, pages 55 through 59, inclusive of the public records of Pinellas County, Florida, and pass ordinance number 9321-19 on first reading. Mr. Burzak again.
The easement vacation will allow the property owner to move forward with developing the site for new townhomes. City stakeholders have reviewed the vacation request and have no objections.
Any questions on 8.3?
No.
Agenda for Thursday night then. 8.4.
Approve the request from the city of Clearwater to vacate a portion of a right-of-way lying in the north 10 feet of the south 30 feet of Lot 12, Block 5, Fairmont subdivision, as recorded in Plat Book 9, page 85 of the public records of Pinellas County, Florida, and pass ordinance number 9327-19 on first reading.
The portion of the right-of-way being vacated is not necessary for municipal use and is deemed to be in the best interest of the city and the general public that it be vacated. City staff have reviewed and recommend the vacation. Questions?
Any questions on 8.4? We'll have that on our agenda Thursday. Thank you. 9.1.
Approve an interlocal agreement between the Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency and the City of Clearwater to provide CRA funding in fiscal year 2019-2020 in the amount of $99,640 to underwrite activities in the Clearwater Main Library that support community learning in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math, entrepreneurship, and small business growth, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Ms. Obermeyer.
Thank you. Jen Obermeyer, Library Director. Good morning, Mayor and Council. This is a companion item to what Ms. Thompson reported on during the CRA meeting, and I'll be happy to answer any additional questions you may have.
Any questions of the Library Director? Okay, we'll put 9.1 on consent for Thursday. Council, let's go ahead and take our recess and reconvene at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, she's here somewhere. She was in the restroom. I don't know where she is now.
Since our last council meeting, I'm sure everybody did bring that.
Oh, I attached it, and it's in the.
Oh, so it's on there?
Staying age friendly list to the city council.
How do you want it?
Why?
Yeah, I know, Joelle, I think.
Why?
It was her first one. She's never had, she was just
That's
more.
because she's too young. She's.
What is the?
We give them a hard time about that yesterday.
Because I got.
Oh, man.
Have you seen all her emails?
I haven't seen the one that she sent today.
Yeah, she sent me 2 so far.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that the one?
Yeah, she went back to her. I found out a little bit more.
I'd like to reconvene the work session for September the 16th, agenda item 10.1.
Approve the annexation, initial future land use map designation of residential low, and initial zoning atlas designation of low medium density residential district for 1819 Audubon Street and 1015 Woodside Avenue, and pass the appropriate ordinances on first reading. Mr. Guevara.
Good morning, Diego Guevara, Senior Planner. This case involves two properties totaling approximately 0.72 acres, occupied by detached dwellings. 1819 Audubon Street is requesting annexation to connect to the city sewer and to receive solid waste services. On Friday, we received the request from the owner of 1015 Woodside Avenue to withdraw his petition for annexation. The owner was requesting annexation for solid waste service, and in his email, he indicated that he owns a business and typically parks several company vehicles in his yard, and he wants to stay in the county where that is allowed. We will prepare a motion to amend the ordinances on first reading for your consideration on Thursday evening to remove 1015 Woodside Avenue from the ordinances.
Any questions of staff on 10.1? No. Be in our agenda then Thursday night. 10.2.
Approve the annexation, initial future land use map designation of residential low, and initial zoning atlas designation of low medium density residential district for 712 Moss Avenue, 3047 Lake Vista Drive, and pass the appropriate ordinances on first reading. Mr. Guevara again.
This application involves two parcels with a total area of 0.40 acres of land. The parcels are subject to agreement to annex that were recorded in 2017 and 2018. The properties are contiguous to existing city limits along at least one property boundary and are eligible for annexation. It is proposed that the properties be assigned a future land use map designation of residential low and zoning atlas designation of low medium density residential.
Any questions on 10.2? Be in our agenda Thursday night. 10.3.
Approve the First Amendment to an existing hotel development agreement between Decade Sea Captain LLC, the property owner, and the city of Clearwater for property located at 40 Devon Drive, which replaces Exhibit A to provide an updated legal description and replaces Exhibit B to provide new conceptual site plans and elevations, reduce the overall height of the proposed hotel building, add a detached dwelling to the portion of the property within the low-medium density residential district, and adopt Resolution 19-18, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Perry.
Thank you. Mark Perry, Planning and Development. There have been no changes to the site plan or the proposed amendments to the development agreement since council meeting earlier this month. Just as a brief summary, the request is to build a single-family home on the portion of the property that's within the LMDR zoning district. Just to be clear, when all the intensity of use and development parameters were applied to the hotel that's already been approved, it was just that portion of the property that was in the tourist zoning district that was considered. So the LMDR portion of the site is essentially unencumbered. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Questions of staff on 10.3. Mr. Perry, I'm still a little troubled by the single the single property, the single family dwelling unit. It's going to be used for rental purposes.
They can rent it for terms of 30 days or 1 calendar month or more, just like pretty much any other residential property in the city of Clearwater. What their intention is, I don't know.
But the fact that this is part of a hotel as opposed to part of an individual investor is where my concern is. Are they going to be using this for parties, or is it going to be strictly a rental for 1 month?
It would have to be, because if the intent was to use this proposed building as a venue for parties, that would make the use indoor recreation and entertainment, which is not a listed permitted use in the LMDR zoning district. So really on this portion of the site that's zoned low, medium density residential, the uses and activities that can take place on that portion of the site are fairly restricted. It's restricted to those things that are permitted in the LMDR district, which essentially is a single-family home. They certainly can rent it out, but only for the terms that any other single-family home in the city of Clearwater could be rented out for, which per our code is 30 days or 1 calendar month or more.
Okay, so I just want to be reassured that they're not going to be able to use that as to market it as part of the hotel and use it for hotel activities or anything like that.
And we've had those discussions with the applicant, and they've said no, absolutely not. Their intent is to use it as a single-family home for their own use.
Okay.
I was going to say my understanding and knowledge of this, the owner, Mr. Carlever, his intent is to use this as his private residence, and he has quite a sizable extended family. He owns properties he runs properties up north and everything else, so this would be a private home for him and his family when they do come down. But it will be his residence. It's not out for, he has no intention of putting this out for general rental on a monthly basis anyway.
But if that's the case, then he's not renting it, and there can be a turnover on a more frequent basis, and they can have parties there all the time.
Well, technically, yes, but you're talking about a single-family residence on the property, owned by the owner and occupied by the owner, and only people he allows. Now, I can tell you, given that situation, he's not going to allow people in that house to disrupt his hotel operation with parties and that type of operation. I just can't believe that would be tolerated by him or appreciated by the guests in his hotel. So, that's one of those, it's technically, yes, it could happen. In practice and in application, I have no question that it will not be an issue.
And technically, that could also happen at any residence in the city of Clearwater.
But that's my point. The one complaint that we get over and over is that these houses are used for parties and they disrupt, the entire neighborhood. And this property is going to be right next to a neighborhood.
Absolutely.
They abut. So I just want to try to get that out there so we can have some clarification.
Sure.
Any other questions on 10.3? It will be on our agenda for Thursday night.
Thanks.
11.1.
Approve a contract purchase order to Oracle America, Inc., Redwood Shores, California, for the period of October 1, 2019 through September 30th, 2020 for software maintenance at a cost not to exceed $294,000 in accordance with Section 2.5641B Code of Ordinances, sole source, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Mayor and Kayleen?
Third item.
A third item, okay.
Mayor, Council, Dan Mayer, IT Director. This is maintenance for some of our Oracle-based software, including databases, our asset management tool used in utilities, and as well as our payroll system. portion of this will be going down, we hope, significantly by next year as we implement the new munis payroll system. So hopefully this will be the last year of this dollar figure.
Any questions of staff on 11.1? Consent? 11.2?
Authorize the piggyback state contract for public safety communication support equipment in the amount of $104,600 to Zybex Systems, Inc. of Littleton, Colorado, pursuant to Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.5641D, exceptions to bid other governmental entity bids, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Mayor, again.
Yes, this is for the specialized cube equipment that's going to go in our backup call center. For years, the city hasn't really had a resilient call center. In certain storm situations, we have to evacuate the main police department, which is our call center for 911. And the new call center that was built with the EOC expansion at Station 48, it will handle 6 call takers and 3 dispatchers and be fully functional call center.
Any questions on 11.2? Consent? 11.3.
Authorize the piggyback of NASPO contract number ADAPO16130651, software value-added reseller services, OpenGov, SHI International Corps of Somerset, New Jersey. Initial term amount of $97,500 with 4 one-year annual renewal options pursuant to Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.564D, exceptions to bid other government entities bids, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Mayor and Ms. Council.
Mayor and Council, this is an expansion of a software module with a product from OpenGov. OpenGov provides our online budget presentation. It's fully ADA compliant, and it meets the state requirements for publication of the city's budget. With some of the problems we had with ADA compliance, or that have been challenged across the state, our budget book, when we put a PDF out there, created a number of challenges for us. And as it relates to the capital improvement budget is really why we're buying this. This not only solves our ADA problems with the capital improvement budget, but it also modifies our internal processes for the development of that budget with the departments. And we'll get rid of a lot of excess paper and time, and I'll let Ms. Castile explain some of the differences there.
Hi, Kayleen Castle, Budget Manager. So this is an extension of the agreement we have for transparency and reporting currently with OpenGov, and we're adding a connectivity with our general ledger and accounting software to pull that data automatically. With that, we'll be collaboratively building the capital budget, the 6-year plan, with a central and secure location that all departments can work together in that one central location. It will be the process for the 6-year plan, so all of the planning, and it will create new budget reports and a budget publication. So our entire budget document that is done manually with Word and Excel will be created in a collaborative fashion and pulling directly from the general ledgers to eliminate a lot of errors and that we have with that manual process. We're also adding a operational performance. We'll be creating dashboards for every department so they'll be able to review and track their budget and performance metrics with these 2 additional products that we're adding.
Any questions on 11.3, Mr. Kondo?
Is this a cloud-based system?
Yes, it is.
And is it protected from ransomware?
As much as anyone is protected, yes, it is.
Mr. Albrecht.
What is the ADA part of it? I mean, if you can describe that to me, is that how it's seen by people that want to come on?
ADA is with regard to accessibility for people with special needs or any other handicaps, which could be vision or hearing challenges. Over the course of the last 2 years, there have been some lawsuits across the state citing that the websites from governments, whether they be county or city, are not compliant with the ADA mandate, the federal law, and we're able to win awards against those states or entities. And then they would just move from entity to entity. So it's very easy for someone to go to our website, look at all our documents, and if they can identify just a few that don't have are being capable of being read automatically and complying with the ADA standards, they sue you. We are very close to fully compliant, about 90%, 80 to 90%. Joelle's group does an outstanding job in public communications of tracking all our documents and all the features for compliance. We're very sensitive to the software systems we buy and are posted and whether or not they're ADA compliant. But it is a challenge and it's ongoing. And the expectation of the public is enormous, and we really don't want to back away from being transparent. We work very hard to put as much information out there as possible. So one way is to just turn the switch and say we'll only put the required documents out there and nothing more to eliminate the risk.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you.
Let me amplify on that just a little bit. Most of the challenges that cities have received across the state are from individuals who don't even live in the city limits of the community, but they have found that that's a way for them to make a quick $10,000, because some cities would rather just go ahead and settle and pay a fine than doing what we're trying to do. So we appreciate the work that's
It's not just a government issue either.
Yeah, no, yeah.
They're hitting, private business websites and everything else, seeing if they're ADA compliant and filing lawsuits against private businesses as well. So.
Mr. Pogles.
I would suggest I'm guessing, not a group of individuals, but a group of attorneys who have found.
I really didn't think
Let's
it was
not
fair to
paint
take
that
advantage.
Okay. they don't represent themselves.
Ms. Aiken?
Just to note, we did not settle when we were sued. And so we have, our motion to dismiss was granted, doesn't mean we won't get sued again. Our summary judgment was granted, but it could, you never know.
Rear its head again.
It could.
So on 11.3, consent?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
12.1.
Authorize a blanket purchase order to Odyssey Manufacturing Company of Tampa, Florida for the purchase of liquid sodium hypochlorite in the annual not-to-exceed amount of $550,000 with option for 3 one-year term extensions pursuant to Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.564, exceptions to bidding, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Porter.
Good morning, David Porter, Public Utilities Director. I'm here this morning to ask you to authorize the issuance of a blanket purchase order to Odyssey Manufacturing of Tampa so that we can obtain the sodium hypochlorite, in other words, bleach, needed to disinfect the wastewater from our wastewater treatment plants. We've had a contract previously with the same firm. This contract's actually going to be a couple of cents less than we paid previously, even though this contract is 3 years old. We're doing that through a piggyback contract with the county, who's got a bigger has better ability to negotiate the contract. So this is available to us, and we'd like to have you authorize it, please.
Any questions? Consent?
Yep.
12.2.
Authorize the piggyback of Pinellas County Contract Number 1670456B, Pumping and Tankering Services to Enviro Waste Services Group, Inc. of Palmetto Bay, Florida, T. Wayne Hill Trucking, Inc. of Mulberry, Florida, and FCS, Inc. of Clearwater, Florida, in the annual not-to-exceed amount of $750,000 with option for renewal terms per contract pursuant to Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.5641D, exceptions to bid, other government entities' bids, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Porter again.
Good morning, David Porter, Public Utilities Director. I'm here this morning to ask you to authorize the issuance of a piggyback contract with the firms named by Mr. Horn. The purpose of this contract is to provide us with the ability to get emergency pumping when we need it, to try to minimize the number of SSOs occurred during excessive storms. I would like to say that this contract is one of the contracts that has come up as a result of the partnership between the stormwater wastewater groups in Pinellas County. The county was the lead on this, took the position, negotiated the contract, and now the rest of us are piggybacking off the same contract. It's something we identified as part of the stormwater wastewater partnership as necessary.
Any questions
questions?
on 12.2, Mr. Pugliese?
Thank you. So it's a not to exceed amount,
Correct.
which means if we continually doing what you try to do here, and we've had pretty good success with not having a lot of spillage and overages, there's a good chance we're not going to come close to spending $750,000.
Well, we've had some, as you know, this year, during
Yeah.
excessive rains came. We haven't been hit with a hurricane this year.
Right.
And we didn't really get hit last year. When the years come that we will see really large excessive storms, we're gonna need this service. So hopefully we won't spend much of this, but when it's necessary, it's necessary.
Okay, thank you.
This is a budgeted item. This is a line item, budget item for your department, correct?
It's coming out of our budget.
Yeah, and bottom line,
In addition.
going back to an earlier discussion, if we don't, it's a not to exceed 750,000, and that's how much is allocated.
Correct.
If we use 500,000 of it, the other 250 is what goes back into your department, or does it go into reserves?
It won't be removed. It's a contract, so it's available to be used until we spend it. It's not actually gone anywhere. It's still in the budget.
But from a budgetary perspective, in their actual budget, it would go back to their reserves.
Okay, that's what.
Any other questions, council?
Well, I guess then if you didn't use it, in Hoyt's example, if you only used 5, 250, so then you would increase the contract the next year for just the 5 that you used, so that you maintain 750, or would you try to grow this budget?
No, it'll be 750 each year for
Okay.
3 years.
Okay.
So if it isn't used, it isn't used.
Okay, got it.
I think help me out, Mr. Porter, because we haven't purposely discharged into the bay or into the aquifer.
That's correct.
What this does is help us prevent spills that have been identified and give us a resource to, when we have a breakdown or a big rain event, that our equipment can't handle it. This will help us address those issues.
That is absolutely correct. It's to help us, it's a preventative, so help
It's
us prevent those
preventative.
things from happening.
Right, okay.
That's correct.
Okay. But the key, I think, for our residents to understand is that we have not purposely just discharged just because we don't, we're not taking care of what.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
That's correct.
Consent?
Yep.
13.1.
Authorize surplus disposition of G 2179 and G 3943 via auction to the highest bidder pursuant to Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.622, surplus personal property. Mr. Conzen.
Good morning, Perry Conzen, Fleet Manager. The vehicles listed below have been brought before council for authorization to surplus at auction.
Any questions on 13.1? Consent?
Yep.
Ms. Call, or no, is that Ms.
Ms. Anderson.
Ms. Sanderson, 14.1. Mr. Horn, I'm sorry.
Authorize award of request for proposals number 40-19, tourism marketing services to Bandwagon LLC for destination marketing in the annual amount of $200,000 for the initial 2-year term, $400,000, including 1 2-year renewal option, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Ms. Sanderson.
Good morning, Denise Sanderson, Director of Economic Development and Housing. For the past 9 years, the city has engaged a public relations and marketing firm to strengthen the city's brand awareness nationwide and as a top tourism destination. The desired outcome of these efforts is to, of course, increase visitor interest, ultimately leading to additional heads and beds, if you will. In May, request for proposals 4019 was issued, and 13 proposals were received by the June 5th deadline. The selection committee was comprised of 3 staff members and 5 members of the tourism community. The committee reviewed, ranked, shortlisted, and chose by nearly unanimous highest ranking the firm Bandwagon LLC. The RFP process for this contract requires a tremendous commitment, and so I would like to publicly thank those community members who've dedicated so much time to this effort. These proposals are not short. Jeff Kastner, representing Hospitality and Opal Sands Resort,
Lisa Chandler, representing events and entertainment, primarily for the Sugar Sands Festival, Frank Shivas, representing restaurants with Baystar Restaurant Group, and Jeff Klaus, representing travel and transportation with the St. Pete Clearwater Airport, and finally Lynn Fuller of Flying Compass, representing public relations. The selection committee's recommendation is based upon the following: research-based approach, including analysis of top competitor markets, custom content creation, an experienced team of professionals, measurement and transparency through the use of technologies, providing real-time project status, online approval, and an ongoing communications log for economic development staff to better monitor and administer the contract. Fixed flat fee pricing and frequency in the market, having market presence on a regular basis. And then finally, a shortened onboarding process. And that process is shortened because the principles of Bandwagon are familiar to us all. They are formerly with the organization called HUB, which was a subsidiary of J. Vero and Associates. The scope of work for year one of the contract, which is in your packets as Exhibit A, includes in-market press trips, website design, development and hosting, as well as content management, custom content creation and marketing of that content, stakeholder engagement and communication, and account management services, strategic planning, and ongoing evaluation of deliverables. Staff is recommending approval of the 2-year contract with an option for 1 2-year renewal in the amount of $200,000 annually, subject to the terms and conditions contained therein. And funding for the contract, which is set to begin October 1, is in the Economic Development and Housing fiscal year budget. Happy to take any questions.
Questions on 14.1? Mr. Corey. Cart.
Yes.
That had been working with us. Is he part of this new group?
Yes.
Because I saw he's not the managing. Is he going to be handling this account or somebody else?
He is going to be handling the account as he did under his previous role. In market will more often be Kylie Mills, who, again, in her previous role did the same. So she has transferred as well. He is one of 4 principals in this firm.
Okay.
To answer your question.
Good. And then with the merge, I guess it's okay to say, with the 2 chambers coming together and operating as one, will that will help us do the marketing even more so now, or?
I believe absolutely. In fact, Corey and his team were hired by the Chamber's Joint Committee, the Transition Committee, to lead their brand development efforts and their transition under that. So he's been involved since conception with that new organization and will continue to be a part of that as he was under the regional chamber managing some of their in-market branding.
Good. He's done a good job. Is this going to go on our agenda then for Thursday night?
It can be placed on consent.
It can be placed on consent. Okay.
Mayor, I'll mention that Corey is intending to be here on Thursday night should you wish to have him speak, but happy to have it go on consent.
Well, is he flying in special?
He is flying in. I won't say he's flying in special. I'm sure he has other work to do.
I don't want him to charge us for the trip.
We get no out-of-pocket expenses for that. I believe he has other business here in the community.
Okay. Do y'all want to have him come?
Well, yeah. In the past, thank you, Mayor. In the past, I appreciate the public process and engagement to get to this point. And I'm just scrolling through this roughly 70, 80 page RFP response. But if he's going to be here, it would be nice to take that 80 page summary and let him do the highlights of what he's going to do different or maintain, just to.
Okay.
I mean, not necessary, but we've had presentations in the past.
I think it would be good to,
Shall I ask him to be prepared to do a presentation of some sort to address your interests?
A 5-minute presentation.
Yeah, half of what this is. Okay. Or a third of what this is.
I'll be ready to stop.
You can introduce him, and he can take 5 minutes.
You got it. 3 minutes.
Okay.
3 to no longer than 5. You will.
I haven't even hit the bottom of the proposal yet.
Now, Ms. Call, agenda item 15.1.
Approve the 2020 City Council meeting schedule. Council members, in your agenda packet provided a listing of the council and work session dates. The only meeting exceptions that we have right now are the February 17 work session has been moved to Tuesday, February 18 at 9 due to President's Day. October 15 council meeting has been moved to Wednesday, October 14th due to Jazz Holiday. And right now, the Florida League of Cities have not scheduled either their annual conference or the legislative conference. So once that is scheduled, and if there is a conflict, I will bring it forward to council.
The Jewish holidays?
No conflicts
No
with any
conflict.
holidays.
Okay, very good. Okay, consent,
Yes.
even though you didn't put consent on this.
I never place my items on consent.
Okay.
Just in case.
Mr. Horn, or do you have a report for us on pedal pubs?
What I have there is, you all have had copies of the Pedal Pub memo, and what I am really looking for here is to get some indication as a corporate body, whether you all are interested in us in moving forward with the items that are in it. Most specifically, the recommendation, if you're interested, is for us to do a pilot program.
Questions, council? Mr. Albritton?
So the pilot program, was that going to be not necessarily alcohol served? Is that correct on the, what they call maxi bike, Mike?
The memo doesn't recommend alcohol.
Yeah, so they could do it between pubs, but nothing.
That's right, that's right. So if you support a lot of those items that were listed under recommendations, then we would simply create a pilot program that would incorporate those items, and then we would seek a vendor who would be interested in doing it.
Mr. Hamilton?
Would the selection of the vendor go through an RFP or just, I know there's one individual that's very interested in this. Have we spoke with him about, because I think the bullet points in the memo are very spot on and where we need to be if we're going to allow this operation to take place. These things need to be adhered to and followed. And have these bullet points been submitted and discussed with this individual, or where do we stand on that?
Because we had a number of people, several that expressed interest, we didn't really give anybody any preferential treatment, although there is one vendor who is already operating a pedal business in St. Petersburg. And so we've had conversations with them, and they've been very helpful in, having to express all the things they went through to have their business. So, Pam, I don't know whether would we be constrained in making this a competitive, if we wanted to do the pilot, I don't think we would have to make it a competitive process, would we?
I think you typically would.
For a pilot, not a...
Yes. I mean, I don't think you're not paying them anything, right?
No.
If you don't want to be competitive, but I'm not sure why you wouldn't solicit anyone who wanted and then pick one. It's up to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is there more than one vendor who provides this in the area, or is it just the one in the area?
Well, we have one business owner who is expressed an interest on the beach in particular.
Yeah.
And then we have a vendor who already operates a business in St. Petersburg.
Okay, so there's two.
There's at least two.
Yeah. So you almost would have to. Yeah.
The memo calls for an application process, not necessarily an RFP or an RFQ, but an application process for whatever that looks like.
Well, I think we should open it up to give more, as many interested in at least applying. The question, I guess, is whether or not you want to do it through an RFP.
I think we can do it through an application process, and then, I don't know if we're the people to review the applications, or if the group that the manager put together to come up with these bullet points would review them, but also make it very clear in the application that these are requirements that you will be required to adhere to if you are awarded the ability to do the business.
And you're limiting it for a 6-month pilot.
6 month, and
No, I'm just, you want to solicit applications.
Right.
That's the same thing in my mind as an RFP.
Okay.
It's just that you may not have as many formal requirements, but you want to solicit people who are interested.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Yeah. Now, I think, just so that there's no confusion, because on social media, there was already a report that we've approved this business, this operation on Clearwater Beach. So we are in agreement that it is not going to be on Clearwater Beach.
I don't know that. Well, if you go by all this, this says you can't ride it into the roundabout itself. If they can come up with a way to do it on North Beach or South Beach and not enter the roundabout, is it something we want to approve, or do we want to say no entirely on the beach?
No, I would be okay. It's not like the scooter thing. I'm okay with having it just like it's written here on Clearwater Beach, because I think that's where a lot of the pubs.
No, but it says, as a result of these findings, we do not recommend allowing megacycles on Clearwater Beach.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I read, just not in the roundabout.
No, it says that's one of the problems. Council, I hear what you're saying about allowing it on the beach, but let me remind you, traffic on Mandalay gets backed up all the time. And if you're going to have this cycle on Mandalay going at 5 miles an hour, it's not going to help the traffic situation out. It's going to exasperate it more than just during the springtime, the spring heavy tourist season. So I don't see how we could even think about putting it on Mandalay or South Gulfview. But that's...
I don't disagree. I actually missed the one bullet point where it says we don't recommend allowing on the beach. Because when it said don't allow them into the roundabout, I just kind of assumed that meant you stay on the north end, you stay on the south end. But then if they say don't allow them at all on the beach, I can concur with that. Just because it will create a traffic issue.
Yeah, and the reason that recommendation is there is to address the traffic congestion issue.
Yeah.
On balance, then the feeling was.
Yeah. And with the hotels, and their valet parking, causing additional, problems on the weekends. I just don't see that. However, Council, I'm going to question whether or not, and the chief is probably going to get upset with me, but I think in other communities, these megacycles have alcohol served while they're going from place to place. And quite frankly, I don't know why we wouldn't allow that to happen on a trial basis, just to see. Because why else would you want to go on one of these things?
I know where they get it.
Ms. Aiken.
If you wish to do that, and it is done in other communities, we would have to change our ordinances. We do not allow open containers on the streets at this point. So it would require ordinance change to do that in order to initiate your pilot program.
Okay. Mr. Kondo.
I'm thinking that groups like the Clearwater Arts Alliance might be interested in using a vehicle like this to go up and down Cleveland to see the sculptures and painted murals. Would not need to have a can of beer with them.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
They will have had plenty of cans of beers before they get on this thing. And even though the operator's not driving, then you still have the speed fluctuations and the differences. And
Okay. I'm
along the same lines as you, Mayor. We already have plenty of options for tourists at Clearwater Beach.
But the recommendation is
no alcohol.
No alcohol.
Yeah. Mr. Hamilton.
I think this falls very much in line with the discussion we had at our previous meeting about scooters. We don't want to allow them on the beach. If we want to do a pilot program, we need to be doing it in downtown. However, given the current status of our downtown and the limitations, of our downtown right now, are we even gonna get anybody to bid because of that? But we can put it out there and see if anybody does.
Mr. Albritton?
Well, that's correct. I saw a pedal, a maxi. Megacycle in Philly when we were up there. And, I said something to him, then I realized, wait, these people don't even have, any alcohol. It was something they were doing tours with. I don't know if that would really fly in downtown Clearwater on a tour, but, in Philly, there's a lot of things to look at. But I guess maybe during the day they did tours with it, and then maybe at night you turned it into a pedal pub.
Bar crawl.
Yeah.
Because they still don't drink on those vehicles.
Okay. All right. Well, I just knew that they did in St. Pete, so I didn't know if there was any interest here for us to. But, that's fine. We'll go with the memo as written for for applications to see what happens for a 6-month trial.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay?
I'm good. Thank you.
Mr. Horn, do you have anything further for us?
No.
Ms. Aiken?
No, sir.
Mr. Poglace?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. I kind of wanted to take the opportunity to share with Mayor and Council what I found out based upon a concern and interest of a citizen back in early August or maybe the end of July. Mr. Thornsberg came forward with a fence request and found out there was no way to either get a variance. It's by ordinance, and our rules are such that he couldn't do a fence where he wanted to do a fence. And so what it prompted me to do, and I don't know if anyone else has done this either, I didn't question ordinance. I seen how it was written. I seen the logic of why it was written the way it was written. And the biggest concern that Mr. Thornsberg had, as I discovered, because I live on a corner lot also. It's a corner lot problem. And so I began to drive around town, many different neighborhoods, and I took a lot of pictures. Mayor has a packet. The rest of them are actually an attachment that came out sideways, and I don't know how to spin it, so I can put them on the Elmo if you want. But what I found out, and I'm not sure if council's aware of this, there are so many, first of all, in every neighborhood I drove through, there are grandfathered in fences that don't meet our current code. Secondly, there's old fences, many of which are falling down that should be code compliant complaints, but neighbors, unless you call, it doesn't become a violation or one that's enforced. And then the ones that aren't grandfathered in, I found also in every neighborhood, many, many brand new fences that are not code compliant. And the new PVC, new fence, new wood. And so it led me to a conclusion that and we strive to be different and we want to be better. And so we have rules and regulations and we have a code of ordinance to protect all citizens equally. But what I found out is that it appears to me that our current code, I won't say encourages, but it seems that many folks are putting up fences without permits because they're not in compliant. And the issue on a corner lot specifically is that the backyard is just that. It's the backyard by the rear ends, the rear facing portion of the house is where a fence can't go one direction but straight back from the perimeter of the house. And I can show pictures, which is what Mr. Thornsberg wants. He's already got a backyard fence, but to follow the back line of his house to go straight back, there's an additional 30 or 40 feet there on the side of the sidewalk where he could put a fence. And so what I looked at Largo's code and I looked at the county code, and there was a couple interesting things that I found out. It's determining what is the side yard, because in county and Largo ordinance, you can have a 6-foot fence in your side yard and your backyard, but not your front yard. So the question is, what determines the front yard? Can the fence come off the front of the house, the front edge of the house, and then go back to the backyard? Or does the fence have to begin at the rear end of the house and go straight back and not come over. So I noticed that there's a conflict, and a lot of folks are just putting fences up without a permit because there are violations everywhere. And so what really kind of comes to light is and all these violations are corner lots, by the way. And there wasn't one neighborhood that I didn't find a violation, either because of a new fence or grandfathered in fence. So what we've got is a situation where people with new fences want what their neighbor has across the street. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Do we look at it? Is it good enough? Because we've got a situation where if neighbors were to begin complaining, we would have a heck of an enforcement issue for the new fences alone that have been put up without a permit. So the question really is on corner lots, what determines the side yards? Is it the front edge of the house, the back edge of the house? How can they go? And I've highlighted in your packet, you can see that let's see, there's a couple points. 6 foot, for instance, in Largo is 6 foot. You can have it all the way along the rear and the side yard. And they did not delineate, as far as I could tell, where the side yard begins, the front edge of the house, the back edge of the house. And in the county, actually, the county administrator, what they use in the county is a line of sight. So if it's internal to a neighborhood and there's no line of sight loss, and it doesn't impede upon visibility for that intersection, then it's okay. And then in special circumstances, the county administrator has the authority and power to give a variance or to allow it to happen. So I just wanted to bring your attention that we've got a problem in the city that it's happening. It's happening, and there are many violations throughout the city. Mayor, I don't know if you want me to put these on the almost so we can see these, or is everybody familiar enough with what we're talking about?
Let's see what staff has to say.
Okay.
Ellen Crandall is here from planning to provide you some information.
All right, well, as you addressed, our fence code, just to give a quick overview of it, it is based on zoning districts. So what your front setback, what your maximum height for a fence in the front or the side of the rear is first of all going to be based on your zoning district. I think the property in question is zoned LMDR, low medium density residential. That is really our most common residential zoning district. Per our fence code, you can have 6 foot on the side and rear. You can have 4 foot in the front if it's set back for landscaping, or 3 feet. Our fence code does also make provisions for corner lots. There are a few areas in which you could have a greater than 3 or 4 foot fence in the front. One of those in general is for the perimeter of subdivisions. Generally, we see this at the time the subdivision's being created a plat, but you could have a 6 foot fence for the perimeter of a subdivision. More intensive residential zoning districts, such as the medium density residential or the high density residential, can come through a flexibility application. We don't have variances, we have flexibility. So they could come through a level 1 and ask for a 6 foot fence, has to be higher quality. So that's a provision for those zoning districts. And then specifically for the LMDR zoning district, for corner lots, there's 2 specific provisions in the code to kind of help address some circumstances. A lot of corner lots are very variable how they're oriented. If their secondary front is a front for someone else, if they put a 6 foot fence up, who's it directly aimed at? So when you look at neighborhoods, the orientation plays a big part of it, and it's also very variable. So when you're trying to address something that could apply uniformly, maybe it seems like it doesn't apply to everyone, or it could apply more. That's kind of part of the challenge of it. But specifically for LMDR corner lots, if the fence is consistent with the character and the placement of adjacent properties, meaning if the adjacent property also has, is a corner lot, it's oriented similarly, they have a 6-foot fence, they could also, the requesting neighbor could also line up with that. And then secondary, if the secondary front is classified as an arterial or a collector, they could have a 6-foot fence in the front yard. So there's 2 provisions in the code for that, but.
Also, if I may, also what I found out was that, I agree, it's a subjective interpretation based on configuration of the lot. But what we do allow is we allow shrubs and hedges as long as they're maintained with no height restriction. So, and I think I found one picture in here where they grew a shrub that was, I think, probably 10 feet high, and then they put their 6-foot fence up behind it. So we're interpreting that, depending on the lot configuration, it's okay, as far as we're concerned, we're making the determination that a 12-foot shrub, perfectly maintained, is better looking than a 6-foot fence, brand new vinyl or something like. So we don't monitor shrubs in the same concept or what they would do for. So there are, and I saw a couple of them where they put a fence up behind the shrub, I suppose after the fact. So there's a way to go forward, but it's just that it seems like there's a created conflict with our fence code, and I don't know if there's a path forward, if it's something that maybe the city manager has the authority to in a certain circumstance where.
Well, specifically with regard to the resident who has asked for some flexibility, our staff spent time with him going over what he really wanted to do and determined that the only way to accommodate him was to amend the code. So from our perspective, that's a closed issue from where we're looking at. You amend the code if you want to give relief for this individual who wants a 6-foot fence. The second thing is this code was approved in 1999. So there is no way for us to know how many people were grandfathered as a result of this code. So if you just look at what is a violation under our current code, it's hard to say whether that was done illegally or not. All you know is it doesn't comply, but you don't know, why. The other thing is just because there's a violation is not a reason to change the code, just because people don't comply. It's like all the other things that it's difficult to enforce. We still want to have a code, even though we know that some things are hard to, enforce. So at least from the staff perspective, and then when I talk with Councilmember Poglaze, there is an area on his property where he could use a 6-foot fence, but it wouldn't give his dog enough roaming room to his satisfaction, and still comply with.
Well, and this really isn't for me about Mr. Thornsberg. He alerted me to a situation in Clearwater where we have conflict, and there are several properties that are grandfathered in, and then of course new fences are going up without permits that are in violation. So it just makes me think that if our code was in 1999, the fence code was established, and there are still violations going on currently, do we have a situation that maybe we look at to stop these violations?
Let's address what he's saying about fences going up without permits, because that's really troubling to me.
There's a brand new.
Do we know, in fact, has this been reported? I mean,
it's only enforced when someone complains.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Do we know that it is in violation?
Well, I know it's in violation based on the way our ordinance is written. I drove around and just took pictures and go, holy cow, this is.
But you didn't find out whether he had a permit. You're just assuming.
Well, he wouldn't have got. Well, you're right. I'm assuming he did not get a permit because it's.
And that's my point. Let's not make these assumptions if we don't know for a fact that he doesn't have a permit.
This one I would probably bet your paycheck on there because it's brand new PVC, which was not available in '99.
Yeah,
but he could.
If that's where his existing fence was and he was replacing an
can't do
existing
that.
fence that was grandfathered,
You can't,
Didn't know if
no.
he was grandfathered, he would.
So when the wooden fence deteriorates, you have to replace it.
Then you have to come into
Come
code.
back into code.
You have to come into code, right?
It-
Help us out.
You can do a maintenance on a wooden fence, but if you completely remove the fence and put in new material, then theoretically that would require a permit and should be code compliant.
But there's flexibility, I mean, if I heard you.
There's a specific code provision for maintenance of fences and walls. Fence boards may be replaced on any non-conforming fence provided the posts are not replaced. So if you have an existing fence, let's say it was legally permitted prior to 99, it's deteriorating, you can do, repair and maintenance on that fence.
As long as you don't replace posts, but you can't go from a wooden fence to a brand-new PVC fence. I mean, that's beyond maintenance at that point.
If I could comment on a couple of things. One is, I think we do find, my experience is that we do find and will issue stop work orders on fences. So I don't think it's strictly, call and complain. If it's, now, having said that, there's tens of thousands of lots in Clearwater. Do people put up fences without permits? Yes, they do. But they're not protected from them if we find them, or if a lot of times what you'll find is that they'll put the finished side in and not out. And doesn't matter if it's 3 years later, if we find they didn't get a permit, or even if they got a permit and then put it up wrong, we'll make them fix it. I think, what may be kind of confusing here is that we've got a code that defines side yards as fronts on corner lots. So you may find that some jurisdictions may allow fences on those side yards to come out beyond the single-family structure on corner lots. And you may find distinctions between the pattern between the house behind it. If the house behind it faces perpendicular to the house on the corner, it gets confusing. But then you can imagine if the fence is put out in front in the side yard, then it's coming out in front yard of the house behind it. So if you have the two rear yards facing each other, and then the fence comes out behind, it doesn't put a fence in somebody's front yard.
That is where the conflict.
We probably need a drawing to show you that.
Well, I have photos to
But
show
the code
that.
deals with those situations differently, and that may be part of the confusion with this particular individual here.
Is that road that's on the picture, is that a collector, or is that?
No, this is inside of a residential property. I'll just pass them down. It says a photo. This is inside a residential neighborhood right off of Keene, deep in the neighborhood. And you see his side. Now, he's on the left-hand corner. This is a corner, and there's additional pictures of it. He came off the front of the house with this fence and then went to the back. Current code would require him to take that fence to the back of his house and then go straight back, not come out and down like you see this. Okay, so,
Yeah.
okay. So it's just, it is, I think, Mr. Delk, you're right. It's that, it is kind of confusing where it's a side yard problem on corner lots.
Well, I think Ella can probably point to you on an overhead that shows you what the issue.
Because Keene isn't all clear.
This is back in, no, this is not unincorporated. This is off of Keene back.
No, you said Keene.
Okay, this will help. So the marker there, I believe this was the subject property, so it's at the corner.
Blow it up a little bit more if you would, Ella.
There we go.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a subject property, I believe, of the discussions. You can see they're at the corner. They're oriented this way, same as their neighbor. You can see they have a 6-foot fence behind the leading edge, as it would be permitted here. But then across the street, you have this house oriented this way, so they would be looking at a 6-foot fence at their front. So I think that's part of where the orientation of houses at corner lots can be very variable. Kind of just looking at the neighborhood at a larger view. There's not a real consistent pattern for how the houses are oriented at the corner to say, well, if we made this a secondary yard, it would be a secondary front for everybody because they are all oriented differently. There's nothing that says when you're a corner lot, this must be the way you're oriented. I feel like it looks more confusing than helpful.
But, well, looking at that picture, I mean, you know, across the street, you're saying that the neighbor across the street to the base, on the south side is, you know, looking at his side yard. Well, what difference, you're looking across the street, what's the difference if you're looking at a 6-foot fence or a 12-foot hedge? You're still you're looking at something. I mean, I don't really.
In most cases where we have fences, we require landscaping to buffer the fence. I mean, it's true, we do not have a regulation on how tall your hedges can be, only in site visibility triangles. Generally, when you're planting something that we may or may not be looking at a landscape plan, you can have a variety of plant materials that could be planted and they're this tall, and in 10 years, they're 15 feet, I mean,
And maintaining a
varies on
15-foot
maintenance.
bush is not easy to do. And, but I mean, a well-maintained or new 6-foot fence wouldn't be, I can't see where that's more objectionable than an unmaintained shrubbery of undetermined height. I'm having a hard time with that when you're across the street. You know, if the house to the east of that, you know, and that one's actually oriented towards the corner itself at a 45-degree. So, I mean, I understand. My thing is, and I don't know how we do this. I just look at this and I say, you know, this is an interior neighborhood street. I mean, we put in, I mean, the house to the west of it is a young lady who worked for my family for many years, and she was one of the spearheads. Paul Bertels knows her very well, that she was one of the spearheads that got the traffic calming put in on Greenlee of, you know, the roundabouts and everything else. So, you know, you have a very low speed through that neighborhood. You have a lot of that, if the corner lot is on Sunset Point and you got cars doing 40, 45 miles an hour, it's a whole different area as far as sight lines and you know, sight distances and everything else. You know, to me, a well-maintained fence is, you know, yet somebody could put a hedge out to where we're talking about, or landscaping and shrubbery that's going to block the visibility, yet we don't allow a fence. I don't know
I
about.
had one more thing. We don't require a permit when someone wants to plant hedges.
I know. So, I mean, and I know, you know, in this individual situation, the homeowner that wants the fence, he's got large dogs, and a 4-foot fence is not going to keep his dogs from jumping right over it. A 6-foot fence would contain the dogs, and, you know, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. There's so many different variables that can be applied, and almost every lot can have its own exception to the characteristics. So I just don't know what the answer is.
Mr. Albright.
Well, I know this wouldn't help him, I mean, in the short run, but he could put a 4-foot fence by code, and then he'd have to grow a hedge on the other side, and that would probably hold his dog in it, but it wouldn't happen immediately. But my question would be, what would be the unintended consequences? I mean, that would, if we did decide that we wanted to change this, that would be my question. I mean, to make an exception for one person, what are the unintended consequences for the rest of the city? Is it because...
You mean to make it a citywide code change?
Yeah, what is the unintended consequence of that? Is it because you don't want to look at a hard fence, rather maybe a hedge is softer in a community and a fence is more, I mean, what would be the...
I mean, generally, I think landscaping is softer. We usually require landscaping to buffer a number of things. And I'm not sure how you would change it, that it would just apply to this property.
No, I'm not asking that.
But I mean, overall,
Citywide.
Maybe,
Would it affect sight lines if,
Not in this, no, I mean, the difference between a shrub or a fence, it's.
no, it's
He's got a bunch of property to the street, you know.
trying to find an
but it's to
example
the
here,
street,
but-
to the left?
An invisible fence, electric fence?
Maybe this is a good,
Barbed wire?
if this house right here that I'm pointing to, say their driveway fronts on Green Hill Drive. This fence, we're allowed to come out all the way to the
Street.
property line. You end up with the fence to the home next door that extends all the way to the street in front of that house. So I think some codes, what you will find is ones who may allow a little bit more latitude than ours, but it may say, for example, that this fence here can't come within, 15 feet of the right of way, for example. It might give you a little bit more latitude for this lot right here to come out into that side yard a little bit with 6 feet, but it may stop short of going all the way to the right of way line simply because you don't want to fence in the front yard of the home next door to you. So that's kind of the downside if you allow those fences 6 feet in every case. Then you look out your front door and you've got a neighbor with a 6-foot fence that goes all the way out to basically to the street. And I think from a neighborhood design standpoint, that's not the most desirable thing. Our code is fairly conservative about that. It says you can't pull out a 6-foot fence forward of the building line on a side lot because we define it as a front yard. So that, I think, if maybe help try to clarify a little bit, is where I think your
Would that be
discussion
for
centers.
interior lots also then?
Pardon?
So we're talking about a corner lot, but it would also then apply to interior lots, right?
Not interior lots.
Well, no,
Fences cannot go forward of the building line on an interior lot.
Okay, all right.
It's 6 feet. Once you get in front of the structure, it has to drop to 4.
There was an interesting configuration in the Skycrest neighborhood. I drove through there, and that example exactly that you used, the neighbor, and he didn't follow the 15-foot right-of-way rule. He went as far as he could just on the side of the sidewalk. But what he did, I guess to his neighbor's benefit, to make it aesthetically, and it's a pretty new fence, it's pretty nice, but I don't know if he couldn't have got a permit, but he planted shrubs and landscaping and made like a border around for his neighbor's property, and it's not even his fence. So people are doing different things to sort of get by and offset that, exactly what you're talking about there. But we regulate fences, we don't regulate shrubs, but you can use shrubs to get the result you want. The people that are following the rules, and then there's a lot of folks that aren't, are still doing it. So I just wanted to alert you that this is going on, and do we need to look at it as it relates to corner lots? Because if you put Mr. Thornsberg's property up there again, Ella, and if I could just describe because that shows what he can do. Yeah, that shows what he can do. What he's requesting to do, if you go to the left side of the back of his house, he's requesting to take that dotted line to the left, within the right, not all the way to the side. I'm not sure how far he wanted to go. There's no sidewalk to the street, but then connect to the back. Now, what I found over and over again, because that's per code, that's what you can do. What I found over and over again, people have done just what I've said, taken the dotted line to the left, and then what else they've done, they've walk up to the front on the left side of that house, go up towards the driveway. They've actually installed the fence, say halfway within the house, over to the left, and then back connect to the front yard, which is the picture of that white PVC fence you've seen. So and it seems like most of the problems are corner lots. Most of the violations are corner lots. So I just don't know if there's a better way.
Why don't we ask staff to take a look at these other ordinances in other communities? And, because they may have the same problems that we have, and we just, don't realize it when we look at, and how they address those kind of issues and what kind of flexibility might be allowed that maybe we could consider, as opposed to doing an outright rewrite of the code. Because I don't know that any of us are comfortable with anything, right, to say this is a much better option.
Well, I think when, Mr. Duck, when you spoke, you said we have a fairly conservative policy. That's a good thing for quality of life issues in Clearwater, but fairly conservative equates to maybe there is an opportunity for a little bit more flexibility within some of these corner lots.
So, if, looking at the dotted line is what our code allows right now.
So the blue dotted line is where you could have a 6-foot fence. The yellow dotted line is where you could have a 4-foot.
I don't see a
The
blue.
blue dotted line is.
Yeah, see, blue dotted line here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now I see it.
And then that's where you could have the 4-foot.
And
Now, there you go, that's it.
he can do where the yellow is,
No, the blue.
He can put a fence where the yellow line is, but it has to be a 4-foot.
but it has to be
Yeah.
4 foot.
But then he can put a 12-foot hedge on the outside of the 4-foot fence.
Right in that yellow line, he could put a 12-foot hedge.
Okay, where is that, from a visual standpoint, why is that better than a 6-foot fence? That's where I have a hard time totally understanding.
Well,
But if I could just make the comment, the comment was that you can have a hedge that exceeds the 4-foot height. We were not encouraging anybody to have a 12-foot hedge.
Yeah.
So that was how that came up. It wasn't that we were saying, hey, go out and get you a 12-foot hedge. No, we were saying, because we don't limit the height of hedges, obviously that's one approach that he could use, but it wasn't something we were promoting. So, Mayor, to your point,
Yeah.
do you want us to take a look at, do a quick survey of what other cities are doing and then bounce it up against what we're doing, and then see if we have any recommendations to come back to you all on?
some flexibility.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that any of us have a solution that,
Well, in the
Yeah.
county's case, they allow if we didn't do a full-fledged amendment to the code, the county administrator has the authority to approve.
well, that's what I'm saying, to have them take a look at this and see what
Well,
kind.
you know what they do in Hernando County with fences and docks? In exact relation to these corner lots, they do a public hearing. And citizens' right to be heard or contest, you can either send a letter in and say, and it's usually the neighbors within a 500 or 600 foot. So, I mean, there's just different ways communities handle it.
Okay. Why don't are y'all comfortable with that? Have them, check out a few,
I appreciate it.
okay?
I think so.
All right. And thanks, Mr. Poglace, for pulling this off of our agenda the other evening, because.
Yeah, well,
Okay. 17.2 is a resolution that I would like y'all to consider. Council, as you know, under our rules, I cannot make a motion to adopt a resolution. On September 13th, 1994, 25 years ago, the United States Senate approved an assault weapon ban for 10 years. During that time, I don't know that you read about as many incidents as we've had in the last 4 or 5 years, even here in Florida, with assault weapons. After Pulse, after Park Lane, after what's happened the last month and a half here in our country, I think we need to do more than thoughts and prayers. In the past, Council and I have stayed away from national issues. But I think this issue is something that we need to consider. to let people know where we stand as a community to encourage safety. We had an incident here in Clearwater at a hotel several years ago. We had an incident in the unincorporated area that was identified as Clearwater most recently. And then the other day, we had a shooting because somebody was concerned over a parking spot. And I hope that on Thursday, one of y'all will consider making a motion on this resolution, and we'll get a second so that we can pass it. There is one typo in section 1 that says that the city of Clearwater supports legislation that would provide a ban on high-capacity ammunition clips and military-style weapons. I'm pleading with y'all to please consider this and the importance it is, because like I say, I think it's time to go beyond thoughts and prayers, and in light of some actions that we've taken most recently, I think this is most appropriate.
Mayor, if I may comment on your statement?
Sir.
I 100% agree with you. And there was an article today, or I caught up on all the newspaper reading this yesterday, and it's like 95% of all these mass shootings are done with an AK. I mean, it is an assault weapon problem. Excuse me, in those high-capacity magazines. So I think this is overdue, so thank you for bringing it forward.
We can discuss that further Thursday unless, like I said, I don't know how y'all feel about this, but like I say, after Pulse, I went out and donated blood, and I've continued to do that. I've gone to church, I've prayed, my prayers aren't working. And I'm not sure that this is going to work either. But we need to send a message to the people. We had this 25 years ago. And they didn't have the fortitude to keep it going. And anyway.
Well, if I make a comment on that. Listen, my heart went out to those people too, and I've done, I would not be in support of doing a ban on assault weapons. The thing in '94 that they put together for 10 years, 2004 it came off, really didn't make a difference to anything. I think I would be more in support of the red flag law and making that a national program and modifying the red flag. So just not only police officers, but open it up to family members to be able to say, hey, my son's got a problem you maybe want to look at. But I don't think the ban on assault, there's so many out there now, and there's so many magazines out there now. Let's do something that'll really help. I think part of this could be modified, and I wouldn't mind doing a resolution, but I'm not going to do a ban on the firearms. I don't think that's going to help.
And again, it's not a ban on firearms. It's a ban on military-style automatic weapons and high-capacity magazines. And since the ban was taken off, we've had Parkland. We've had, the only one that we had during that time was Columbine. That was the only one to the best of my knowledge.
Well, here's
We've had Parkland,
142 shootings, 62% were committed with handguns, 48% with semi-automatic handguns, 14% were revolvers, and 25% with semi-automatic rifles. So I understand everybody's concern about military-style rifles, and those are sick people that are doing it that probably get incentives through games on the computer, and that's why they use that. I mean, the actual definition of it, what is an assault weapon? Well, they came up with a definition of assault weapon, and it had to meet two or more of the certain features on a gun, like a handle. But that's it. They're modular guns that everybody's mad at because that's what they see the military using. They aren't automatic, they're semi, and so are all the other guns. And you take a 22, you could used to buy at Kmart, it has 20 rounds of 22. I mean, there's no big magazine sticking out, but that, I think it's more of just, it's something that everybody's having a lot of discussion on now. But I think
Is
the
the
mental
22
health
an
part of
assault?
it,
22, even with multi-rounds, like you put the cartridge in there, isn't there a different definition between assault rifles, AK-47s, AR-15? Isn't there a difference
all it has to
between
do is
them?
meet 2 requirements, and the requirements, I could list them out, I don't want to do it right now, but.
But that's a discussion for somebody else to have to
Yeah.
pass the resolution. A semi-automatic assault weapon can kill an awful lot of people in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
A handgun doesn't kill as many people. It doesn't make it any better because somebody has lost his life. But
The reason why.
again, I don't know that we're going to have
I know.
a motion. I don't know if we're going to have a second. I just appeal to your conscience that if we can be concerned about technologies that aren't affecting us yet, that we know.
I don't want to infringe on law-abiding people. I understand the public outcry and the social, the right thing to do to protect as many people as we can, but I think we also need to be focusing on the need for mental health, and, the red flag law I'm fine with. I mean, I think a background check and a 2-week waiting period to buy a gun, to a law-abiding citizen, if I want to have to wait 2 weeks to get cleared to buy a gun, I'm okay with that. Now, if I'm going to go hunting in 3 weeks, I need to keep that in mind, and I need to buy a gun to do it. I need to make sure I, apply for that in time to be able to go do it. And gun shows, they're private citizen to private citizen sales of firearms. There's got to be a way to track firearms. I'm okay with all of that, but I don't like taking law-abiding citizens who have no reason to be denied something that right away, just because a couple bad apples are, now everybody's getting painted with the same brush. And I don't know, I'm struggling. I know, the purpose and the intent of the resolution, and most all of it, I'm fine, high capacity ammunition, more than what the weapon is originally designed for. I don't see any reason to,
And counsel, in conclusion, I understand that this is a very sensitive issue, but we have a responsibility for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I don't think that this is abridging anybody's right to have a weapon. And if we're going to take steps as a council suggesting that we need to do some things because of scientific evidence being conflicting, then this is something that we know is happening. And so I appeal to you. Think about it, and hopefully we can send them, we can come to some, if there's a second. If there's no second, then we don't have to worry about it, But I appreciate y'all hearing me out on this. Our meeting will start at 6 o'clock on Thursday, the 16th, the 19th. We're adjourned.